can decide whether you eat that day. And I don't want to be a pessimist, but I still think in many ways, almost with technological advances, it's going to be very difficult to resist. I think it's actually scary. I don't know how the world's going to be in 100 years from now, but I don't know if there's going to be much freedom left. I don't know about you, but when I look at the things they're doing with CBDCs and electric cars and the way the currency is going to change.
All right, we had a brief technical issue there. We were not live, everybody, so I do apologize for the delay.
Live now.
Yeah, I see it just popped up. I apologize for the delay, everybody. Once again, a little bit of technical issues this evening. Sakafet to everybody that's out there. This evening we've got Alpha Revert, Mountain Chad, and Bronzebird with us.
Yeah.
You can never
things work.
You can never
works
expect
now.
technology to play along. So I'm gonna drop it back just a couple seconds.
Make sure we get the ad for Halo 3 months free, of course.
There we go. Right, yeah. Man, so I apologize there to everyone that is in the audience and everyone that is catching this. This is part 2 of the Tate and Owens interview.
And before we begin, make sure y'all supporting the twin. Subscribe and make sure you hit that like button, please. You know what I'm saying? Please do that for us. Please do that for him. Support the twin.
I appreciate that plug, Bronzebird, and everyone out there. We've got at Bronzebird, we've got at Alpha Revert, and at Mountain Chad. All these gentlemen have great pages. Please stop by them and subscribe as well. All right. So technical issues aside, I think we're clear and good to go with this. So I'm going to go on and start the video again here.
Interesting what you're saying about your husband and fishing and hunting and stuff. I completely agree with you. And there's another thing about masculinity as a whole that I don't think that a lot of people want to address, but it's something that's certainly large in terms of my following. Because if we break down, if anyone's watching this now and they're trying to understand why is Andrew Tate so popular? Well, I believe I speak to the base instincts of
base instincts. 100%.
Base instincts. And one of the base instincts also for men, I don't think a lot of people understand, is to a degree is peacocking and showing off to a degree. And I do that fantastically. But it is. And if you look at men of old, and they used to conquer, and they'd wear a feather from the man they killed, or a piece of gold they stole. There was always that degree of flexing, showing off. And I think it's being unapologetically masculine and saying, yeah, I'm a big, successful man, and I can afford all this stuff, and this is who I am, and I've worked my ass off, and this is what I have, and I'm not sorry about it, and I'm dedicated, and I'm hardworking, and no, I'm not. I don't feel like I should have to cower or hide or apologize to the world for any of these things. And I think that's the reason why a lot of men find affinity in my message. And you're right. Baseline masculinity is being attacked.
So quick question. What do you guys think about apology?
You apologize. If you do something intentional to harm some other one, then that doesn't deserve it. Yeah, that's about it. I mean,
intentional.
When you do something... You do something wrong, you need to apologize.
Yeah, but being successful is not wrong. Or, if you buy a car with money you stole, I mean, it's like, you apologize for the action. You're not going to apologize for the car. You know what I mean? It's just,
yeah.
I mean, everybody knows what an apology is for. It's like, why should, it's like they want him to apologize because, nobody else made it to the same level as he does. But that's across the entire time and space. There's going to be people that are going to be more successful than others. It's life.
Well, what's really weird is trying to conflate morality with work ethic and diligence, where someone like Andrew Tate is just like, this is who I am. This is how I do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Why would I apologize for how my stance and me standing on my square is? Right? It's not like I did anything illegal. I did something bad to anybody. You know what I'm saying? We ain't going to get into the whole child trafficking thing that was mentioned, but at the end of the day, my opinion on it is as follows. Like, why should I have to apologize for what I've worked hard for and what I've done? Why? Mm-hmm. What sense does that make? Now, if I did something like illegal, like I got somebody hurt behind my actions to get where I am, then, sorry. That's when I put out the apology, but it's not well suited for something like this.
Yeah. So like from Andrew Tate's words, straight from the horse's mouth, I've heard him admit to stealing money from his employees. So that's a dick move. So that's an example where he should apologize if he's a good man. He shouldn't hire people for X amount of dollars and then steal some of their money. But wage theft is incredibly common.
Yeah. And he never said he was a
For
good
X
man.
amount of
To begin
dollars
with.
and then steal some of their money. But I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. I never took him as a good man, like some pious man, some morally upstanding,
Yeah, he's never claimed any of those things.
Right.
At all. In no way, shape, or form.
Right.
He in fact said the opposite. It's like I'm a flawed man. I do what I had to do to survive, and I keep doing what I think I have to do for him.
Right.
Like he in fact said.
All right.
And women naturally don't find it attractive to find a man who's not that way anyway. But baseline masculinity is being attacked because they want you absolutely not dependent on the government, so that the government can decide whether you eat that day. And I don't want to be a pessimist, but I still think in many ways, almost with technological advances, it's going to be very difficult to resist. I think it's actually scary. I don't know how the world's going to be in 100 years from now, but I don't know if there's going to be much freedom left. I don't know about you, but when I look at the things they're doing with CBDCs and electric cars and the way the currency is going to change, it's going to be very difficult to resist without literally starving to death. So I don't know what's going to come. So
learn to farm.
Learn to farm.
Hunt,
that's
learn
right.
To shoot. Don't let them convince you that's somehow racist and sexist and backwards and veganism. Like, you better learn to do all of those things, because
we need men now more than ever, right?
Yeah, positive.
And also,
hunting is a difficult skill that takes a lifetime to learn, and farming is even more difficult. It takes multiple lifetimes. That's why the best farmers are generational. So it's not realistic to tell the general population, I'll learn to hunt and farm.
No, that's not realistic at all.
Yeah, there's certain skills certain things that to survive. For survival, pickle things, there's certain things crop rotation. If I start talking about things that I know from when my grandparents, my uncles and everything, they taught me things like crop rotation, that's very important, seasonal things, but at least we have some form of technology that can help. But yeah, like hunting, there's plenty. I know friends who it's generation of hunting, and they go out weeks at a time and still.
Yeah, they often don't catch something.
No, and that's how it was back in the day. You go out for like 18, 20 hours, and hopefully you get something. I don't think people understand how severe it can get.
Right.
Well, people don't understand how rare these animals are, especially the larger animals. You can be a lifelong camper and go camping many hours every week for decades and never see a bear, never see a moose, never see an elk. Well, maybe an elk. They're pretty common.
Yeah, deer and elk. In some areas. Yeah. I think we've been lulled into a easy life. Man.
I remember I was sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
You're good. No, you're good. You're good, man. Go on.
I was driving my buddy's lifted truck in Montana, and we were coming around a big bend, and we all had to stop, me and the cars behind us, because there was a herd of elk in the road. And the alpha, the guy with the giant horns, was right in the middle of the road, and we pulled up right in front of him, and he was looking me right in the eyes while I was sitting in this lifted ass truck. This enormous horse with swords on its head.
Yeah, people don't understand how I think it's cute because of movies. Yeah, they think it's cute because of movies and stuff. They will kill you. These animals are. You don't understand. A horse could easily kill you. It's like,
I'm scared of horses. Wasn't there like genuinely a fear of mine? Yeah, to get kicked by a horse.
I love horses. Wasn't there like a whole trend where everybody was talking about who could, would you win if you fought a bear, or would you win if you fought a?
Okay, here's the thing. Everybody loses.
Yeah.
Unarmed, yes, but yes. I think I want them to bring back the gladiatorial fights. I want to see 12 men with sharpened sticks against a bear,
and see how many
I'll pay to
survive.
See that. I'll pay $50 pay-per-view for that. Yeah,
and see how many of them
win.
Survive.
Yeah, I think 7 die.
If they're good, if they're really strong, maybe 7. I'm gonna say about 3 survive, and they're gonna be bleeding as well.
Oh yeah, these are gonna be top athletes. It's gonna be like John Jones and Francis Ngannou and Stipe Miocic.
Well, especially like a grizzly bear, because there's different levels on it. You're talking like a grizzly? I don't think that. Probably gonna need more than 12.
Yeah, maybe 12 guys and 3 dogs.
You got to throw.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You got to throw a buffalo in there or something. A bison.
Just a random prey
bison.
animal.
Just throw it.
So I do believe, and this is going to get me called misogynistic, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Uh-oh.
I do believe we need masculinity, especially in the households, because I believe that women are more emotionally led and men are more logically led.
It's true.
And I think that the propaganda machine and the news machine primarily uses emotional arguments as opposed to logical arguments.
And women fall for the emotional
And women fall for the emotional arguments. So if you have a woman who's in charge of the household and her man can't resist her commands, and they put on the news, be afraid, COVID's going to kill everybody. She gets afraid. Now you have a whole household of people with masks on, 8 vaccines, and down the insanity hole. Whereas a man with logic would sit there and do exactly what I did and say, look, all right, let's calm down for 2 minutes. Let's just wait, because the news lies. So let's just wait till Wednesday before we start taking injections. Let's chill. So I think also masculinity is needed, because what they're going to do when they try and make us all slaves, they're going to use emotional arguments. And they're going to come along with, I was talking about COVID with someone the other day, and we were saying how insane it all was. And I said, imagine how insane something like COVID will be once the police force are robotic. Imagine once it's all AI. No mask, done. Like, at least in certain countries, and I know because I traveled the entire world during COVID, I'll say here publicly on the internet, I broke every single COVID rule. I broke every single lockdown restriction. I broke all of them. Every single one. Never listened to any of them.
I broke more.
It's a competition.
Yeah, so if it's a competition, I broke more.
You sure?
And from day one, I was like, absolutely not. I didn't even let people that were wearing masks into my house. I was like, my baby will not look up and see somebody wearing a mask in his crib. That's scary.
Yeah.
Looking like Bane looks over his crib. Like, that's just not happening.
Amazing. But
pause this real quick.
yeah, I mean, me and my brother, we moved to Sweden.
Did she say Bane?
Yeah. Well, and yeah, like my daughter had speech problems because of it, because she wasn't able to see on it. Like, it was a constant struggle, because my ex was all like, "Oh no, the COVID," and I had to fight. Be like, "No, kids are not getting boosted and everything on it." She ended up, my stepdaughter had, because I didn't have any rights over her. She got the shot because on there, and then when all this stuff happening, I started coming out. I'm like, "See," I'm like, "And you wanted to give our 5-year-old and untested?" I'm like, and it was tooth and nail on there, because there was just, oh no, the news says this, the news says that, we have to do it, mask everywhere. I didn't wear a damn mask. I took it off every time I had a chance. It was just the most ridiculous thing. I don't think I ever had a cough.
All right, yo, it reminds me of when it first started. Everybody in the chat pretty much knows I'm from New York, so the regulation pretty much started where it was just like everybody mask up. At first, it was like, make sure you protect yourself, had the whole city on shutdown. And mind you, the slogan for the city is the city that never sleeps. Well, it took a nap for 2 years. And I had the pleasure of seeing it. And so it's just like, the whole barrage of it, people just being like, 6 feet, stay away from me. And then I'm just sitting on a train like, I'm not, I am and probably and was an outlaw once that whole entire thing got started, because I just thought in some capacities it was ridiculous. Even seeing things like, traveling somewhere in the Bronx, taking the 4 train and seeing a Spanish lady that had a mask on, but then she takes her mask off on a train to eat her McDonald's French fries. And then she's using her gloves to wear to eat the French fries. And I said, what kind of insanity shit is this? And y'all looking at me weird because I just don't want to wear a mask. You had a Karen coming at me sideways when I was on a 2 train one time. She like, hey, sir, you gonna wear your mask? I had to give her the Negro stare of death. I looked at her, I'm like, what the fuck you looking at? Why are you talking to me? You know what I mean? And I listen, my whole entire prerogative is stare of death. Like, why are you even questioning me right now? I'm just trying to get off the train at my stop. And all I'm saying was I respected everybody for their opinions and stuff like that. But the only thing I felt was, why y'all targeting people who just decide to say, hey, I don't want to get an injection or I don't want to wear a mask? Those people aren't evil. You know what I'm saying? The thing that got stripped away from this society was a choice. You know what I'm saying? And especially if you're saying my body, my choice. My city didn't believe in that. They said, nah, the rules is the rules. Lockdown at 8 p.m. You can't go nowhere unless you're a first responding worker. Otherwise, than that, you fucked. Pretty much, that's the sentiment that they was given. So, I mean, I'm just saying, it just made me think of that. And I was just like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. That's a great point. I mean, I think there's been this weird movement recently on the internet of people saying, like, we can't forgive the people of the country who sort of went a little crazy during COVID. And I think that's probably the wrong attitude. I'm not necessarily saying you have to forgive them, but don't harbor any resentment. But definitely don't forget as to what Bronzebird just said. Definitely do not forget how the government reacted and how the majority of the population reacted, because that's very telling as to the next crisis, what's going to happen.
Well, and it's this whole thing. Oh, COVID's gonna kill everybody, but then Domino's delivery drivers were able to work.
Bus drivers.
Hold up.
Essentials.
Hold on. How is that an essential? People gotta get their pizza. No. What? How is that essential? How it's like, wait a minute, and then so everybody else that got to stay at home got fat paychecks, and then the guy who can work because he's a Domino's couldn't get that paycheck, so he's making a third of what the guy's just sitting at home getting fat from the pizzas.
Yep.
I'm like,
and all the small businesses had to close down, so Amazon had to replace everybody. Replace all these other
weird how that works
venues.
Yeah, weird how that works.
Yeah, they all get to stay. Yeah.
The big chains stayed open, but the mom and pop shops didn't.
Right.
Because they didn't have delivery.
There was some serious money to be made in the market right after COVID hit, when it crashed in March. Just looking at the government and looking at who they're going to bail out, you could go in and buy cruise ship companies, for example, right after Trump says, "Yeah, we're going to bail them out." It's like, all right, well, if you're going to give them $500 million, I might as well buy them at an all-time low.
Yeah, it was people the way how easily the mask got, and there's still people who won't take a mask off. Somebody told me, oh, I saw on the internet that it's coming back or something. I'm like, what? They're still coming in right now with a mask on and I'm like, what? And they're still wearing gloves to pump gas. I'm like,
so I see
crazy as well.
I see a lot of that, but you know what? I'm not going to challenge if somebody else got a disease that I don't want. And they've been advised to put the mask on. That's kind of a warning. Like, I just go a little bit further around them.
I think there were a lot of people who were just on the edge of sanity, and COVID, and specifically the COVID lockdowns, drove them over the edge.
Fun fact, I've never had it.
Broke them a little bit. I'm not sure if I've ever had it. I've never had a test for it. I never had the vaccine. I've just ignored it for the last 4 years.
Pretty much.
And it hasn't had any effect on my life at all. So.
All right, let's continue, fellas.
We resist the COVID thing from the absolute beginning. We tried our best because Sweden was completely wide open. Absolute insanity. But yeah, even the COVID thing, if you look at it, the emotional argument that was used and how they controlled the world, and they're going to use emotional arguments to control us with everything. I talk about the police force being AI. What they're going to eventually do is say, cops shoot people, humans make mistakes, cops are racist. We're going to give you robot cops that never make mistakes because cops are racist and cops can make mistakes, but these robots never make mistakes ever.
Ooh, yeah.
If you think humans can be callous, holy shit.
Just wait till the RoboCops.
We are going to unlock a whole new world of oppression when robots are here.
Facts.
I've actually invested in some robotics companies knowing how grim it's going to be.
Automated vehicle companies too. Yeah.
One of these guys is going to be the boot heel on my nuts soon.
Yeah, so that's good. You know what? That's a good point, bro. toss up the letters for the Cyberdyne systems.
Police of the future are going to be drones that are this big with a little shape charge on them and facial recognition. Ooh. And it just flies around and gives you instructions. And if you don't follow the instructions, or if you do something that justifies this reaction, it's just going to fly into you and kill you.
Have you seen any of the footage or anything for the game Watch Dogs? The third one in London?
No.
All right, the third one in London, they basically have stations at crosswalks where they can deploy drones. And the stations at the crosswalks actually have guns, have like sentries, armed sentries. And the cops have little booths. They sit in the booth, and you can deploy your own little drones and do whatever up and down the street.
Yep.
And they've got shit all up and down the street in the game where they basically just follow a path where the traffic is and where the foot traffic is, and they're just basically monitoring you the whole way. And the drone will descend on the public and, do a snapshot and tell them, citizen pause, citizen stand still, blah, blah, blah. And they'll deploy troops to where the drone is if something's up. So, I mean, look, it's sci-fi. It's the whole 1984.
No, it's
but
very
it's real.
It's very real.
This shit is real.
China.
Yep.
Yeah, China was doing. I mean, it's.
Oh yeah, China.
It's gonna get. They think it's bad.
No, Brian,
then you already got watchdogs in my city. Like, I haven't seen them physically, but I know they just started deploying watchdogs, the robo dogs out there. So I can only imagine the drones is gonna follow up, and then the police officers is gonna have to take a pay cut.
Oh, they're gonna be gone. We're gonna be telling young people in the future, like, when I was your age, humans did this job, and you could just talk to the human. And sometimes they were
the robot
unreasonable,
grabs them
but
by the head
they
and
were
destroys
still
them.
a human. Yeah, exactly. The robot's just gonna be like, dead. You're okay. Dead.
Yeah. Okay, and can you imagine the cyber attack on our
Yeah.
I don't think people understand, like, just one cyber attack, just in controlling one of them, there goes an entire city. There's a city block getting attacked. Ooh.
And that company that makes the robot dogs, Boston Dynamics.
Yep.
I remember back when I was in high school 15 years ago, watching that company make robots and the videos coming out. Back when, like, YouTube was only a couple years old at that point.
I remember when they were
robots that could barely walk.
Yeah. Oh, I remember before YouTube, because it was on Science Magazine. I remember when they were in Science Magazine, and I was reading with my friends, geeking out, going, "Oh, look at this!" And it was just arms, like it was just pieces.
Yeah,
like,
and they were just working on like
pair of legs.
a pair of legs, or they're just working on an arm. Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
anyways, let's continue on because we're gonna.
And then once all the police force are completely robotic and they've removed all our weapons,
Spiral
you
and
think
spiral.
something like COVID 2.0 isn't coming? You think you're not going to be locked in your house?
There we
You
go.
think they're just going to let you live in peace and walk around outside? Are you an idiot? And they're going to do all of this with emotional arguments. They're not
That's
gonna
why
do
they
it with
want a
logic.
matriarchy.
Absolutely, because with a matriarchy, you can affect it with emotionality. You can sit there and say, the planet is dying. Don't you care about the trees? Give us all your money. And people will sit there and go, oh, yeah, I do feel bad about the planet. Okay, it's just an extra 18% tax. And they can fall for it. So emotional arguments are how you get your way with anything. If you put somebody in front of me I can convince with an emotional argument, I can convince them almost anything. Almost anything. Logic is much harder to do. So we need masculinity even in the household. And I'm just talking about baseline masculinity of just the logic and the rock solid self-assurance to sit there and say, no, I'm in charge of this house. Let's all just calm down. Let's not get emotionally led by this news channel. And let's be very smart about what we do and how we react to things. And that's why it's under attack. And I think I talk about revolutions and I talk about men being the military-age males who are going to eventually stand up, etc. But I'm not be doomsdayers about anything. I don't want to get arrested for any accusations.
Again.
But even just having a masculine essence in a household makes the whole household harder to psyop. I truly believe that. And I can just think of COVID, and I use it as an example because it's the most recent.
Okay, so
yeah, this is a good spot.
This is a good spot because you have a balance of the energies there. You have a balance of the masculine and the feminine, and you have the different perspectives. There is an inherent difference in the way that a man will look at a situation versus the way a woman will. And you can form a consensus then because you have the trust of both partners. It's not misogynistic what he's saying at all.
No, it's talking science, really. I mean, it's been proven that women are more emotional led and men are more logically led. It has to do with testosterone and estrogen. That's just basic in science on there. But then you got more men who are ingesting more soy because they think that makes them, I don't know what, and they change the way they speak, the way they behave, the way they act. And even men who are not led by, don't have a male figure, and they're in their emotions, they are way more um
Susceptible.
not just susceptible, but they act out harsher than women who are more emotional.
Yes.
That's why you have young boys doing craziness in school versus a girl, because it's kind of like it's in their nature to be emotional anyways. And it's not in our nature, and it's like they snap.
Both sides of that male, the both sides of the byproduct with the children, the way the female children would act, the way the male children would act. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a balance there inherently.
Yeah, and I
needs to
household,
be.
When not understanding this dynamics is what really destroyed my marriage. Starting to learn, because I just didn't know. There's some things that my father didn't teach me, and learning about it now, the way I behave with my ex and everything, you could see the change, the way her behavior is towards me on it. She's, even though we're been separate, we're longer married now, she still calls me out, asks me for hey, I need, hey, can we, because it's almost like I have more respect now, not even being her husband, than I did before when I was.
Yeah.
And it's because my frame has changed.
Yeah.
The last thing that Tate talked about there is...
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Go ahead.
He was talking about freedom, and it reminded me of a great quote. I can't remember the quote exactly, but I'll paraphrase it. Something along the lines of, freedom does not begin and end with legislation. Freedom begins and ends at the precipice of each American household where a man stands with a weapon, something like that. The idea is that it's we can't be looking to the government for our rights and liberties. We have to stand up for them ourselves, for our own betterment, and we have to do it as an individual struggle. And then the culmination of the individuals is what ensures liberty.
Well, isn't there a quote that that government doesn't actually give us freedoms? It's just there to protect them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't give us anything.
Exactly.
No. Our rights are inalienable.
Exactly. Those rights are already being given to us. They're just there to make sure that we keep that nobody tramples on them.
And see, this is where people don't understand, and this is where the Killer Mike, Bronze, you and I, when we did the review of that, this is where Killer Mike said, you have to be a person who's active. You have to be active in the community. You have to know what's going on. You have to know who's voting, who's not voting, how they're voting, who they're voting for, because that's where it matters. It matters on the grassroots level. It matters on our level.
You also have to be a person of principle, a man of principle, and stand up for your principles and understand, just as a mental exercise, you don't have to tell anybody, but think to yourself, what is the line in the sand where if the government crosses this line, it's time to pick up a rifle?
Yep.
And there's like this myth out there among the 2A community of like a revolution. That's never going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
It's never, the government's not stupid enough to oppress people that openly. But as long as we have the Second Amendment, widespread oppression becomes impossible because everybody has their own personal line in the sand, and the government, the organs of control are never going to be widespread enough to survive, resistance at the scale of 350 million people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really quickly, just a sense of what he was saying and just talking about the whole entire being value about masculinity, because basically today's society has made it too much so. And I've seen this when I went to my last college about how they try to use this emotionalism to connect with men. And I heavily disagree with that. And my tenure of being a mentor to a mentee, you know, I stood my ground when I was in those meetings when they used to have somebody come through and talk to us and be like, you know, it's nothing wrong with embracing another man and hugging and this, that, and the third. I said, it's not. Well, the thing about it is men have a code. We know how we are with each other. We know how we relate to each other, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so my thing about it is today, the emotionality that they try to pull on men, I wouldn't necessarily say is making a man soft, but it's making a man be thrown off his course, in which I feel like it's nothing wrong with just saying, I am man and this is who I am. Don't disrespect my throne. Like, that's cool if that's some shit that you believe in, but what I believe in is this is how we should roll as men. You know what I'm saying? And with that being said, we still have to recognize the fact that we are able to reach out to each other, understand each other in a logical sense so that we can build together and move together in a way for a probable solution.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. Agreed.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
They've attempted on us, where the amount of people I saved personally, I must have saved 200 people's lives from that vaccine. Me personally, just because me as a man, they'd come to me and go, I want to travel. And I'd say, listen, I don't even have time to explain to you, but have I ever been wrong? No, don't get it. Okay. A year later, they're like, I'm so glad I didn't get that. I'm like, I told you. Like, it's amazing, like, what a masculine essence can do. So that's another reason it's under attack, because if they can remove the masculine essence from society, well, now you have a society. Imagine a society where you can control purely with emotional arguments. We're almost there.
We are in a matriarchy, and this is why they accuse me of being an internalized misogynist, because I'm able to think through and acknowledge the flaws of what happens in society when women get power. And if you want to know what happens, look around you. Women fall for emotional arguments the entire time. Show us a commercial.
Should we pause or just let her cook for a
Trigger
minute?
event. Whew. Trigger event. I wonder how many of them in the comments are like,
Yeah, the comments are.
I feel like it's coming.
The comments are quiet right now, but
It's about to get real.
It's about to get real. Hey sis, glad you came. Glad you're here. Oh man. But yeah, it's
Well, look, where I work at, the company I work at, a lot of the ones who are in top, like store wise, running the stores and everything, are being a lot of females. It's because not a lot of men want to work on there, and you see the vibe when you go into when there's a man who's in charge. It's completely different. It goes from like the level of respect and work ethic and everything just changes on it when there's just a lot of. I'm saying there's nothing wrong, but it's just everything changes when it's just all emotions or everything like that on. It's chaotic all the time on there. It's all feelings and it just doesn't work, man. That's why I'm like I hate going even to work. It's like
there's a definite energy shift when the energies are balanced, and I'll leave it at that. For right now.
I mean, I already been called racist anyway, so I mean.
Yeah, of course. You're not brown enough, Alex.
I guess I'm not. I mean,
Hey, welcome to the White Club.
Hey, I mean, the cops don't think so. I don't know. I'm pulled over and just to be asked if I'm carrying drugs or if I'm taking. I was like, I don't know how many times, but whatever.
You non-melanated individual, you.
Yeah.
Show us. It's so sad, and before they get to the rational aspects of it, they're already invested emotionally. And I think that virtually every societal ill that we are facing today is because of women. And I think the greatest recent example of that is the Bud Light controversy, because
yeah, they have these little breaks here. Subscribe to Candace if you are so interested, of course. It should
women
end
need
now.
to realize
right.
how
There we go.
backwards it is that it took men to stand up to say something was wrong when it was so obviously patently wrong. Yeah. Nobody cared for years until men stood up to it. So yeah,
completely, because it's emotional arguments, and if we also analyze, I mean, there's certain things that women can do so much better than men. I said this the other day. I was saying to my brother. My brother had his daughter here, and my niece was here, and I said, "Isn't it amazing?" I found this amazing. I said, "Isn't it amazing the patience a mother has with a toddler?" I'm like, she's been listening to Peppa Pig for 4 hours. I would lose my mind. I couldn't do it. I simply couldn't do it. So women have this emotionality, which is so fantastic when it's properly used, when it's put into place it's supposed to be. I would never drop my child off to a daycare full of men. Would you drop your 3-year-old child to a daycare run exclusively by males? No. It'd be weird. It's just something about it is weird. I wouldn't trust the men not to lose their temper with the kid. I wouldn't understand why all these men want to be around these children all day. It would be a very weird scenario. So we all understand innately our gender roles, innately on some level. So women have a fantastic superpower when it's properly used, but like everything on earth, if you have a superpower or any kind of power at all and it's put in the wrong direction, it can be destructive. Water, if it's going through a dam, can power a city. If it's not going through a dam, it's a flood. So we have all this emotionality put in the wrong direction, and now they're in positions of power or whatever,
But
or they're controlling the
pause this
culture,
real quick.
or they're controlling how.
But there's a different when there's after a certain, I know there's studies at a certain age, how a male figure is more impactful, like in schools, like in middle school, how more important it would be to have a man as a teacher.
Yep.
A strong man as a teacher.
Yep.
On there, because then having women, and then we're seeing, especially with how everything is right now, and how many female teachers now are just getting assaulted, right, by their own students and everything like that on there, because of the craziness happening on it. But how much less would that be if there's, strong men,
So there's always been a deficit of male teachers in general, minority teachers in our city more so, and that's just been a constant. That's been a constant. He even talked about the fact that people didn't see a black face teaching children. I don't know anybody black that would have been around to teach me chess. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's all about having that image and understanding that you too can be like this individual, and seeing that vision of success, of what it is you want to be.
Yeah, men and women definitely have some differences.
Yeah. I mean, and I kind of said it in the first part of this, that I don't see anything wrong with a focused career path or life path for individuals. I don't see anything wrong with bringing back the career centers or saying, okay, well, a path may be the military for you. Individuals come out of all these situations with great success that stay focused on something that they fucking love to do. There's nothing wrong with it. And there's a need for it. There will always be a need for the tradesman. Not until the robots take over.
Well, I remember when high school still had home ec and shop class. And they used to have a program, it's in Puerto Rico, where it was to go, it's a different route. You weren't going to go to college on it, so they put you on a different program on it where you go out, get some type of certification. And one of them used to be a pharmacy tech. Like, you leave and then you go into work at a pharmacy tech or something on it, and you get something equivalent of like an GED, but with a certificate to go work, because you were never going to go to college. On there, I still remember when that used to be part of high school curriculum.
Yeah, we had career center. Some individuals left school and ended up going to career center, figuring out what they wanted to do for their lives, and then moving forward from there. I mean, my father came from a third world country, a little island. His path was, hell, I'm going to go military. He went military. That was his ticket. But he springboarded off of that because he's a tinkerer and became a mechanic for the post office. He used, he focused on a trade, rode it till the wheels fell off, and that was his life. He was happy. He was pleased with that. That's what he liked to do.
Do you think that young people today still have that same idea that past generations have, the idea of sacrifice, where I'm going to move somewhere new, build a new life. I'm going to live not the best existence for however many decades, but I'm going to catapult my children into a different class?
I think there are segments, small groups, small individuals that think that way.
Everybody thinks that it's easy.
The internet has just permeated everything. I mean, you even think about, like, I don't know if you guys still hang around those circles or not, but if you think about even conversations with like passport bros and gentlemen who travel, you see westernized culture, ideals, and trends permeating globally. So it's going to deteriorate that. At what rate, I don't know, but we can see that here stateside. And if it's not something that's taught and something that's passed down, and those soft skills are reinforced, no.
The word sacrifice.
Those thoughts about,
it's almost a 4-letter word.
Yeah. Sacrifice, accountability. Those are all 4-letter words.
Yeah, like sacrifice. No, they should be able to make 6 figures. You got kids that I work with. They don't have his high school diploma. They think that everybody has a quote brand, they quote their, clothing line, they quote their all these buzzwords, like they're working on their
Everyone's got a podcast.
everybody got a podcast, everybody got a YouTube channel. They think that's their ticket, oh, I'm working on this TikTok, or I'm working on my music, or it's like, okay, so you're working on something that less than a fraction of a 0.5% can do. That's
Right.
your ticket. Good
Right.
job with that. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Households are run, and they can fall for these emotional traps, these very simple, basic emotional traps. It's for grandma. The most basic, dumb level. And I sit there and say, grandma's 98. 98-year-olds die. And I'm not saying she should die. I'm saying 98-year-olds get sick. Who said it was COVID? Prove it was COVID. She got the flu last year. Like, what? Have you lost your mind? But grandma.
Which is funny because I think the average life expectancy is 73.
Yeah,
so if
that's
they've
the
made it to
situation I was in.
92,
They've done great.
they've done great.
Absolutely.
And I said that, and people thought that was so harsh and so mean.
Because there you go, harsh, mean, emotionality.
Yeah.
And emotionality is used against people, which is also why they don't like stoicism. Is why when you have a man who's hard to emotionally affect, they also see him as a threat. I've had it from a lot of people. I've had some of the hate mail I've got, and I get a lot of. I probably get about 10,000 emails a day. I'd say about 9,000 of them are support, and 1,000 of them are fervent weirdos. And the weirdos are like, "You're a psychopath because all this is happening to you. You don't even care." It's like they're threatened by the fact that I'm stoic. They're threatened by the fact that I won't cry and lose my mind over it. They're like, "Oh, he has emotional control. He's a threat," because then they can't lie to me. They can't psyop me. And they want you to be emotionally incontinent. And this is another thing they're teaching men. They're teaching men to act out your feelings. So why are they doing that? Because that makes you an emotional person and you're easier to control. They don't care that.
That goes back to what you were talking about, Bronze.
Exactly. I'm glad he mentioned this too. Mm-hmm.
That damages society by extension. Because when you tell men to act out their feelings, that's why you get school shooters. That's why you get rapists. That's why you get murderers. Why does somebody murder someone? Because he's mad. He's acting out his feelings.
Yeah, that's feelings, and that's personal. That's personal feelings. That's exactly where it comes from.
Now, the thing about it is, the thing that I feel about it is men should be able to express themselves within reason.
Yes.
Usually when it comes to the field of therapy, more than likely you're going to see a field of therapists who are usually female before you see male. Now, I've been involved in organizations where it wasn't that they were a male therapist, but they definitely cared for men coming together to describe the things that they're going through, whether it be marriages, relationships, finances, jobs, all those different things. And the atmosphere is completely different because men being around men, it's just this whole entire thing where it's kind of like all these different things. It's off limits. You could talk about whatever. Because as men, we have our conversations. When it was a woman that was trying to lead a group with men in it, it's like in the subconscious mind of the man, he's like, I can't say everything that I really want to, because of this woman, maybe she thinks that she can handle it, but she can't.
Mm-hmm.
Because certain perspectives that we come with as men, women is going to take offense to that.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing about it is, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying on the regards when men is around other men and we have to talk about some deep shit and be like, yo, it's a certain way we deal with things. Women be like, let me coddle you. What's wrong? And blah, blah, blah. And this, that, third. Whereas men, our conduct is, yo, bro, what's going on with you, bro? Like, what's happening? What's the deal? Chat with me, bro. Let's command that whole entire thing. Like, yo, let's get a beer or something like that. Let's go out to an event.
Empathy versus caring, and I'm going to leave it at that. But there's definitely a divide between the sexes and how they express what they express. There's an empathetic side, and then there's a caring side. And one of the sexes has more empathy, and one of the sexes is a little bit better at the caring and nurturing. I'll leave it at that.
I definitely agree that therapy is geared toward verbal solutions and emotional solutions, and I don't think that is as favorable to the male mind. I think men are looking for actionable results and solutions. What can I do today? How can I pour my effort, physical effort, into solving this problem? I don't think that most men are going to get a lot of catharsis from talking about their problems.
Absolutely.
Feelings. He's not a very stoic person if he goes, I hate you, bang. Right? So they're teaching all this emotional incontinence in men, trying to pretend they care about society. It's destroying society in real time. They have no interest in actually preserving anything that's important about masculinity. And the only reason they're doing it is because that allows them to use emotional arguments. Now they can sit and say, okay, these men act out how they feel. So let's make them angry, and they might riot. And let's make them riot on this street. Let's leave some bricks on this street. You understand what I'm saying? It's all absolutely utterly done on purpose. And it's kind of amazing to me that nobody sits there and understands the best way you can rebel against the slave mind and resist the matrix is just to be the kind of person who uses logic, is stoic, is emotionally controlled, is physically strong, because a strong body is a strong mind, who refuses to be...
See, but what's funny is, you can't be stoic because that's misogynistic, but you can't say that you're frustrated and you're pissed the fuck off that the airline canceled your fucking flight and you got to go to fucking Dallas for a day. That's over emotional. You can't win for losing. Are we victims or princesses, girls? Are we victims or princesses?
told or labeled as something. You can't label me as a depressed person. You can't label me as some kind of disease or some kind of personality disorder. You can't label me a color. I'm Andrew Tate. This is who I am. I work hard for my last name. I understand what's right and wrong. I'm going to do my absolute best. And that alone in and of itself is an act of rebellion against these people.
Society really started going down the drain when we started getting into mental health awareness. And this is maybe one of my most controversial viewpoints, but I say it over and over on the show. Everybody needs a therapist. They're talking about their feelings. The truth is that every feeling you have isn't valid, doesn't need to be explored. Sometimes you just have a wacky feeling and you just let it go. And because my grandfather...
Shut up, Candace, because today I identify as fucking broccoli.
Father was such an impact on my life, strongest man that I've ever known. Didn't shed a tear at my grandmother's funeral. They were together from the time he was 17 years old.
What's that?
I identify as a carrot. Shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm waiting
Until a dying day.
For culture to come out with the purple hair. That's coming.
Get the purple beard.
That's coming. Yeah, that's when you know.
That's when you'll know.
He drank the Kool-Aid.
Shit.
It's a calling card.
He collapsed.
Never.
Of course.
But
Never.
This traditional display of masculinity, in my grandfather's perspective, that a man needs to let it die in his chest, before displaying this emotion, had an impact on me. And when I see, I guess to give a cultural example, someone like Prince Harry, on TV, his arms like this, breathing and showing what he learned in therapy, it makes me want to die a little.
Completely.
It makes me want to die a little when I see men acting
I've never
like
seen
this.
that before. What is that?
And
What is that?
Mercy.
What is that?
He's
Oh
a
my
fucking
God.
coward.
What is
Was he
that?
cuddling himself?
Yo, he really was hugging himself while we just looked at that video.
Hold on.
What is
Yo,
happening?
what is this? Yo, what is this?
His private session? What is EMDR? What is that? I'm so glad I am so I don't know what's happening. What is happening?
There's nothing wrong with therapy, but
Imagine being born into the royal family and then cutting ties and stepping away from them and oh my God.
I gotta find my solace.
Imagine getting a golden ticket into life, and then this is
And throwing it away on some American woman.
on a Western one whose batting count is still undisclosed.
We don't know.
shameful.
Man, that's gonna be some grade A.
All right.
It can't be good enough.
Hey, Emma and Chad, when are you gonna start?
This is Dracula Pose, little woke.
It's like, let's play some indie music in the back.
I'm just gonna stick with my 5 prayers. That's what I'm gonna do.
The UK
Therapy,
needs
it makes me
Vikings. They've gotten too soft. They need the Vikings to come back.
Uh-oh. There's a UK resident in the chat.
It is a UK resident in the chat.
Time for the Vikings to
what they
take
think.
over again.
Yeah, watch out, Northumbria.
That'll be an easy win if that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, if they're just hugging themselves in therapy sessions all day.
She said she would throw it all away for an American.
I don't know. They have a pretty big Muslim community down there. I don't think it'll be too easy. We don't hug each other.
Want to die a little.
No, the
It
Vikings
makes
are
me
pretty
want to die a little
successful
when
in
I
North
see men
Africa and the Middle East.
acting like this.
Hey, the Muslims are pretty
And
the
that's
Mongols.
controversial
So.
because they're supposed to say, "Oh my
Who's
God,
gonna
he's
carry
so
the
brave.
boats?
It's so stunning." Like he's showing this side of him. Everything about Prince Harry to me is what a man should not be. Right?
Absolutely.
What you've done to your family, betraying your family, allowing a woman to assert that much control over you that you would, for profit, betray your family. I mean, everybody's got a family. Everybody's got family issues. Don't even let me get started. But the idea of selling
Hear,
out
hear.
your family and then going
The royal family.
the royal
Selling out the royal family. And yeah,
what happened? It's such a display of what's happened to men, what's happened to masculinity. He's giving.
For one of them American half-breeds.
They did.
Hey, I didn't
the-
say it. I didn't say it this time. You can't call me. I didn't say
No
I didn't
guilty
say
is
it.
charged here. You know what I'm saying? This is just the you mean to say the Mayo version of Coming to America.
The Mayo version of coming.
He didn't even go to Queens. See, I think he went to DC, bro.
He didn't even make it far enough into the country.
There was no Akeem though. There was no Akeem. There's his sidekick. He wasn't there, man.
That's what it was. That's
Yeah.
what
Went to a
happened.
broken down housing apartment in Washington D.C. Said I gotta find my queen. It's Meghan Markle. She's an actress.
Right.
Come to
Yeah,
UK
and
with me.
And a DC 5 is like a Brazil 2.
Oof.
Ooh,
Oh, that
damn.
run to the
swinging.
mountain now, Chad.
Run, run, bro. They're coming for you. Damn it.
Damn.
I already ran. I'm in Texas.
Giving up his
Oh,
guns.
man.
He's never going to do this anyway. It's all of it is such a public example of what can happen.
the thing is, I know what's so interesting is I know how miserable he is.
He's miserable.
There's no way a man can be happy in that scenario because I think masculine happiness comes from strength and to a degree excellence and also comes from respect. Men want to be respected and he doesn't respect
Yeah, it's not
himself,
happy.
his family
It's
doesn't
not
respect
happy.
him, and his
Guarantee
woman
you.
doesn't respect him.
I've
I know
been there.
how unhappy he is, I know how unhappy she is by extension. It's just an unhappy, miserable house. He gave up everything and gained absolutely and utterly nothing. This whole therapy thing, the reason I believe
At
they
DC5,
push therapy
that's
so
what you got.
heavily is because it goes into something I said a little bit earlier about selfishness. If you convince somebody that they have to spend hours and hours per week sitting in a chair talking about that feeling they had last Thursday in the kitchen,
That's crazy.
it's insane.
Crazy.
You want to talk about creating mental illness? There it is. This exasperates problems. This makes it worse. And it also builds this culture of absolute and utter selfishness. Excuse me, they're trying to put you in jail for the rest of your life effectively because they're going to enslave you and they're going to control all the money and they're going to make you get injections you don't need. Yeah, but I'm sad. I got therapy. I'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
That's all they want. They just want you to be so obsessed with how you feel in your own mind that you can't even look outside of yourself and care about anything. It's part of the propaganda machine. It's part of the mechanism to turn us all into docile farm animals. I said this to somebody the other day. They were talking about how they feel. And I said, who cares how you feel? And
Right.
he goes, well, what do you mean? Well, I don't care. You're telling me I know you and I don't care. So all the people who don't know you.
Yeah, I've gotten to the point where when I hear I feel, if I hear three I feels in a sentence with someone or about a subject, my brain short circuits. I twitch a little bit, and then I fucking turn. My eyes glaze over, and I'm in tunnel vision. I can't even hear him. I turn to fucking Charlie Brown.
And just hear Fifi's like.
I hear Fifi's, and I just go. Wah, 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 wah. I think I get a little sick to my stomach. It comes up to the back of my throat a little bit and starts to smell. I can't fucking stand that shit.
Yeah, I'm known at work for the guy who just goes every time they.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes you ignore me. Sorry.
The woman you want doesn't care. You can't go up to a chick at a bar and say, you know what, usually I'm really charming.
Actually, let's talk about Fifi's for a second. Hold on a sec. 1 second. I'm going to jump on this one thing because he's talking about he hit something that sparked the thought. Okay. Pedestrian walking across the street. Guy in a low rider's bouncing, and he bounces on the pedestrian and keeps on bouncing down the road. Who's the first person on the scene to help the pedestrian? A man or a woman? Who's scraping the pedestrian up off the sidewalk and saying, "Hey, are you okay?" Who's the first? If you're not a trained individual, trained EMT or nurse, who's the first individual that would be on the scene to touch the body?
Man.
Yeah, man.
That's empathy. Caring is saying, "Oh dear, someone got hit. Oh dear, let me pull my phone out." That's some sort of caring in psychology. The person on the scene giving compression on the wound and giving them CPR, hold your head up, flip your body over, you're drowning, whatever the fuck happened. That's empathy. That's the empathy piece. And a lot of times people have to be trained to actually feel that. And if you're not trained to feel that, or you're not showed that as a kid, you don't learn that. But we are inherently empathetic. And I'm sorry, I will stand on that. We are inherently empathetic as men.
I'd like to add that you mentioned a lowrider, and that's racist. This
This is why we were the first warriors. This is why back in history, we were the ones that were able to do this and able to strive to do this together and work together as a unit to succeed for our village, for our towns, for our societies.
And I want to say, Sunkiss, there's nothing wrong with having feelings. I express lots of feelings to myself. To other people, I express either neutrality or happiness. There's nothing wrong with feeling happy. I'm a pretty happy guy. But negative feelings are positively counterproductive. So I express those to myself and nobody else.
I express in my prayers to God.
Yeah.
That's it. Literally,
You just gotta know how to channel it.
Yeah,
I just channel them all to God. I'm like, hey, this was happening, and I let it all out, and I just get up, and then continue on.
Mm-hmm.
And rewind it 5 seconds, because I laughed at what he just said, but I forgot.
I'm sorry. Okay.
So all the people who don't know you don't care. The woman you want doesn't care. You can't go up to a chick in a bar and say, "You know what? Usually I'm really charming. Today I'm a bit sad."
Oh, yeah.
Can you give me a pass? Can you let me off?
I've actually done that before. So sometimes I'll line up so many dates over so many weeks that you just get burned out in the process of meeting a new person and going through the whole rigmarole.
Okay.
And I was right at the end of that process last year at some point before I met the chick I'm with right now. And I remember I messed up a date. I went to a bar. We usually go to a cafe. I wasn't dressed nicely. I wasn't taking it seriously at all. I was just totally apathetic at that point. But I really fucked it up because she was gorgeous. She looked so much better than her pictures. And then I said that to her. I was like, "Sorry, you're just catching me on a bad day." I was like, "I'm burnt out. I've gone on like 5 dates this week, 10 last week, 8 the week before that.
Damn.
Like, I'm sort of sick of meeting people right now."
It's like, who are you again?
What was your name again?
He literally saw the worst side of me. I don't think I even took a shower. I probably was all dirty that day.
He was just like, "Fuck it, let me just go." Like,
I'm just fresh out the gym. I don't even give a shit.
You caught the short end of the stick. You should have matched with me 3 weeks ago. We would have gone to that cafe. I would have been clean. I would have been charismatic.
You see this shit? I just grew this.
No.
Yeah. But you're 37th in line, so today I'm just chilling, having a beer.
To be honest, I don't even remember your name.
Right.
So, yeah.
Go away, weirdo. The chick you want doesn't care. The job you're supposed to perform at doesn't care. If the man who wants to mug you decides to pull out a machete, he doesn't care. You can't say, "Bro, I'm not in the mood for a fight today. Tomorrow, please." Nobody cares. So why do you care? All the people out here in the world don't care, but you're going to sit there and you're going to care. You're gonna be the only person in the world who cares. You're going to walk around telling everybody, trying to find somebody who gives a shit. Good luck. Because what's going to happen is you're going to walk around feeling sorry for yourself, trying to find somebody who cares. You might find somebody who pretends to care long enough for you to get a little bit of dopamine. But all in all, you're wasting time in a hyper-competitive world where people like me who perform regardless of how they feel are just going to perpetually bury you. And then you're going to sit there and wake up and go, why am I a loser? Well, because when Andrew was sad, he continued to perform. When Andrew was in jail, his business didn't fall apart. He was doing push-ups every day. His body didn't fall apart. Nothing about his life degraded when he was in a jail cell surrounded by cockroaches. You're in a plushy bed at home, crying about what? And you expect the male world's hyper-competitive. So you're not allowed almost as a man to put that much importance on how you feel. You don't have time to care about it.
See, that's a key thing that females will never understand. And that's not being misogynistic. That's just facts. They don't understand male interactions. They don't understand it's inherently animalistic and built into our DNA to size one another up as soon as we see or meet or interact with one another. It is a trigger. It is almost a chemical trigger that once you interact with another man, you are immediately sizing him up. And females will never understand that, and they completely disregard it.
I still size up. I'm like, how could I fight Munched? I know he's bigger. I'm like, yeah,
we all have the same thought. We all have the
Right?
same thought. We walk into
I'm
a
like-
room, and it's like, for most of history, I would have been swinging an axe at this guy, and I don't think he would have gotten away in time.
I do that all the time. Like, I don't know. And then when you size somebody up and you're like, you interact differently also. And it's like, yeah, this guy's weak.
And especially if you're in the inner city, or if you're in, actually, it's just a general fucking thing. There's just levels of aggression depending on where you are geographically. But there is a general male inherent sizing up of one another.
Agreed.
Because you have too much to do. This is what I find so remarkable. If I feel sad, I don't think, how do I stop myself? I need to not feel sad. I just go to work. I got stuff to do. I'm a man. I have things to do every single day. This whole therapy garbage, I can't think of a way faster to ruin your mindset and destroy your ability to resist the perils of life than going to therapy.
And the over
Now, that's one thing that I think that there is a balance to that. I think that it's needed in cases, and I have no objection to gentlemen that decide they need to do that for themselves at all. My father is a vet, and as his son, I think that he could have at some point been better served by VA with a therapy, or a little bit more if he did partake. And I'm just putting it out there like that.
I've never been one to object to therapy, especially for men. My sentiment has always been, too many times, like, a lot of men live with bottled up emotions and they don't express it. Therefore they just ignore it, and therefore, they use other means of coping, drugs, alcohol, all those different things. And it's been very prevalent,
Women.
especially with,
Drown themselves in women.
drown themselves in women/lust. And my thing about it is like, even looking at people from Vietnam War, my grandfather, like, just the whole entire thing of them suffering with just PTSD. What was the whole entire thing they could have done? Wine or weed or this, that, and the third, but just cheap. It doesn't really cure the problem. So I mean, like I said, I've always been for therapy. And I don't think there's a problem with it if that's what men choose to do. But always know, at the end of the day, as a man, I'm not telling you shouldn't have expectations. No, at the end of the day, you get over what you can get over and still know that you're a builder. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
diagnoses of everything. It's like, you have this, you have that, and then people take that as an excuse to not ever have to get better.
Oh, absolutely.
Now I can be permanent because I realize that I've got this. I went to the doctor and the doctor says that I have this, and so that's the reason why I don't respond. I've got ADHD. I think now it's like 1 in 2 people has ADHD, and that's why I'm not able to focus and do my homework or complete a task or keep going to the gym every single day. And I hate it. It's the self-fulfilling prophecy.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I really can't think of a quicker way to destroy your mind than go to therapy. Part of me, if I had time to waste, Candace, which I don't, because I've been on house arrest long enough. And once I'm out.
See, the other thing too is, and I'm just going to say this real quick, therapy offers tools. We don't know everything. Okay? Everybody doesn't know every fucking thing. And there are tools that others are better equipped with to help us get through those moments in time. Like we talked about before in the first piece, everybody doesn't have that male image in their life, so they don't necessarily know how to handle what triggers them or what causes them to react in certain situations, or what frustrated them and they reacted in a X way, or whatever the case may be, what's coming back to haunt me and hurts me to where I hurt myself to feel better, right? Whatever the case be, everybody doesn't have those tools. Everybody isn't enabled with those tools on how to decompress, how to handle that. So if it comes from a therapist, that's because there's someone better enabled. So everybody's not built like you, bro.
If you're, I'm going to enjoy myself. But if I had time to waste, I would love to go to start therapy. I would love to, like, imagine me, Andrew Tate. I'm going to go to a therapist.
Yeah, actually.
She's not going to know who I am, and I'm going to sit there, I'm going to do therapy, and I'm going to do a video. I might actually do this. It's actually a great idea. I might do a video after each therapy about what bullshit it was. And just sitting there talking about, okay, when you were 8, yeah, what happened when you were 8? Because in your childhood, not everything's because of my childhood. Not everything works that way. Like, it's so asinine. I've actually had conversations with therapists, I think twice in my life. I did a TV show in England, and I had to
but
speak
that
to a
goes back to my
therapist,
point,
and then,
because it's not about necessarily your childhood. It's about the situations that you encounter, and it's about knowing how to navigate.
I think it was another TV show, two
barrel
TV shows.
barrel through life, fucking shit up.
And I sat there and said, I don't believe in your science, because in math, 1 + 1 is 2, and we understand that. Whereas with what you teach, you can have a guy who doesn't drink alcohol because his dad was an alcoholic, and a guy who is an alcoholic because his dad was an alcoholic. So how can you have the same scenario and 2 completely different outcomes? She goes, oh yeah, but there's general rules we can follow. I said, then let's end the conversation. I'm not a general person. I'm not a general person, I'm exceptional. So can we just stop wasting everybody's time here? Because all your general rules don't apply to me. I'm smarter than you. What have you achieved? Goodbye. I'm a world champion. See ya. Like, it's garbage. And I really do believe, I think there is this mass drive to instill the idea of absolute selfishness in people. I think they're trying to, when I really analyze the ideal citizen they want, the ideal citizen is, yes, docile, and yes, he's unique, but he's also ultimately selfish. Because then you don't care about community. And I think therapy is a fantastic way to make you selfish. Because that's all you talk about is, what do you talk about? Garbage.
Yeah, why you have the right to act this way, even if you're acting terrible.
Feel,
yeah.
Why did I do? Well, you know, when I was 9, get a life.
Yeah, that's really Prince Harry's book, honestly.
Is it?
Yeah, I could only get past the first 2 chapters. I was like, it should have just been called Privileged. You know what I mean?
And this is the thing.
These aren't even struggles.
And here's the thing. I think Margaret Thatcher said the best upbringing you can have is good parents and no money. Because you look at Prince Harry you can't talk about anything better for a perfect upbringing. Royal family, come on. It's not his fault, right? Royal family, fine. But he was supposed to have gone to the army. He went to Afghanistan, and supposedly he fought, but obviously he didn't. He's the prince.
Played Xbox.
Of course, he just sat in the back. But if you don't give a man struggle, look what he becomes. Tell me the kind of man, if I were to say to you, imagine a man who's never struggled in his life. Physically, mentally, everything's gone perfect for him. He's born in the royal family, everything's been perfect for him his whole life. Is that the kind of man anybody respects? Is that the kind of man anyone wants to be? And struggle is subjective, right? So Prince Harry dealing with his current problems of his wife nagging, to him, that's full mental breakdown, right? My problems are obviously much larger, but struggle is subjective. To us, they're almost on the same level. But if you were to compare them side by side, they're absolutely nothing. So as a man, you have to build resilience, and you build resilience through going through something and building a tolerance to it. And this guy's had such a privileged life that he's ended up a miserable, depressed, unhappy person. So this is what's actually very interesting. When men come to me or young boys come to me and talk about something bad that happened to them, I said, good. Absolutely, you're not really good. You should be glad that thing happened to you, because that's the reason you're going to be the man who can resist the perils of life.
So who's the therapist?
I think he's pretty much saying that experience is the therapist, in which whatever situation you deal with, that's the grounding factor of you becoming more of your manliest self. Like, that's what I'm getting at what he's saying. But I'm saying the contradiction is, I can't, like I said, why should man disregard the problems that he's had that he's never come to face with? because besides talking about PTSD at war, you're also talking about PTSD of experiences that you had from your childhood to adulthood that you never really came to terms with.
Or PTSD within your adulthood adventures.
Exactly. And let's just say you had an abusive parent growing up, or you had an abusive dad. Like I watched this YouTube video, a documentary where you had this Asian dude that became a gang member. And I believe that he became a gang member. And he said, look, I joined the gang because I wanted to express myself because I wasn't able to around my father when I was young, because my father was abusive to all of us, my brother and my mother. So are you just going to tell him that, man, that shit is soft? We don't do that. But he decided to act out on his rages because of the shit that he had to deal with from his childhood. Right. But at the same time, when it comes to certain problems that men deal with or people deal with in general, right, I don't ever neglect that experiences is the best teacher. And I don't care if it's just a good experience or a bad experience. I usually look at the bad experience because now it's like we playing chess now. What's your next move? Like, what do you want to do? How do you feel about this? And then what do you want to do about it? Because again, what do we always say? Men are the problem solvers. We figure out what's going on. May take us time, may take us a little bit, more writing or this, that, and the third. I don't give a fuck. I said my therapist right now is me writing in my journal. It is what it is. I can refer back to my notes and be like, oh, this is what I talked about today.
Now, see,
you know what I'm saying?
And see, what's funny is that's a tool that comes from therapy. Mm-hmm. That's a tool that comes from that psychological toolbox. And I can't help but think in a situation like this, when someone comes to you and talks to you, when I hang out with other men and we dialogue, we don't have to slap a label of therapy on it, but we then are enabling one another with tools that the other may not have, right? Bronze, Mountain, and Alpha are all smarter than I am. I am smarter than all of you are, because you are all armed with tools that you have learned throughout your adventures in life. I'm armed with tools that I've learned throughout my adventures in life. So, anyway.
Life in the future. If bad things don't happen to you, you're going to end up like Prince Harry. You don't want to end up like that dude, do you?
No way.
Yeah, exactly. So your life's going to be so easy, you're going to get to the end result and your wife's just going to wreck you. So you need to have all these bad things happen to you so you build the mental resilience. And that's another thing about masculinity and males as a whole. We're trying to take that all away from them in almost every regard. And it's kind of like, there used to be like rites of passage where a boy would become a man. That's all gone.
Yep.
There used to be this masculine, very healthy peer pressure to be big and strong, and that's all gone. There used to be, I don't want to use the wrong words, I don't want to get attacked for it, but men used to not pick on each other, not bully each other, but hey, you can't do push-ups, you're weak. We'd push each other in that way, shame each other to excellence almost. We still do it to this day in this house. Tristan's bigger than me, he's 10 kilo bigger than me, 6'4", I'm 6'3", I'm smaller. He'll bench 160, 170 kilo. I can only bench like 150 kilo. He'll call me a for 3 hours. Like, that's just how we are, so I have to get up and try again. That's how men are.
We bust each other's balls.
Well, women are too, and that's what I'm really against. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm super...
Wait. She said women are too. Women hold each other accountable and bust each other's balls? Women do that?
I don't think that they do it the same way we do it.
I never heard in the history of anything them busting each other's labias.
I've never heard women bust each other's labias. I've never heard them really rip on one another. It's always, oh, girl, you look good in that outfit, even though you're 500 pounds. Oh, girl, you cute.
Yeah.
They
right in the ovaries.
They gas each other. They don't bust each other's balls. They gas each other to levels of insanity. Yeah,
yes.
Candace.
And part of that gassing is to undermine the other person as well, so it's not even like positive.
Not at all. It's not sincere, man. Ugh. Girl clicks are gross.
We're against this parenting structure where you don't want anybody's feelings to get hurt. I'm one of 3 sisters. We're a year and a half apart. We tried to kill each other. You know what I mean? All I would do is call my sister. No one has called her ugly or more. You know what I mean? I'm like, you're ugly, you're this, you're fat, da da da.
Yeah.
That's actually good.
Yeah. What?
it makes you tougher. And when you see these only children who've never gone through anything, their parents told them they were perfect and wonderful. And I'm thinking, I wouldn't trade my childhood me and my sisters trying to kill each other, every single day.
Because life's difficult.
Over a T-shirt.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how much money you have. Life is always
making me sentimental. I need to send my fat buddy a text right now and tell him he's a fat piece of shit.
You fat piece of shit. Yeah, see, then we can do stuff like that.
Don't you wait these days, you fucking fatty.
I do that with my brother all the time. I'm like, yo, and he's telling me, yep, you're right. But he's still, I tell him, hey, what happened to the time we used to work out every day? He's like, and I shame him every time I see him. I'm like, you're fat ass. What the hell is wrong with you?
I would do that to my bro, my closest friends, and I call him my bro. We just greet each other, be like, "What's up, sack of shit? Yeah, fuck you. Look at you. You look stupid as hell today, piece of shit." Say, "Fuck you, man," and I just be like, "Yo, we out to get some pizza later?" He's like, "Yeah, we out, bro." Like total like Sour Patch Kid turtle, man.
Right?
Mean first, but then nice afterwards.
how much you try and shelter your children, how rich you are, what family they're born into. Life is going to be difficult, and if there is no struggle in their life, they're going to find struggle, or something that shouldn't be a struggle will become a struggle for them because their life has been so sheltered, and life is hard. So if you can't avoid the difficulty, you may as well get very good at it. You may as well get good at difficulty. And it's amazing when you look at someone like Prince Harry. He's just a man who has not become very good at difficulty, and he's just completely collapsed in the face of a woman who's complaining at him. And yeah, even worse than all that, the dishonor of selling out. We were talking about how I feel a duty to my bloodline and my last name, and I have to do my father proud. He's from the British royal family. And he had no honor. He couldn't even sit and say, look, listen.
He couldn't even shut up for them.
Yeah, literally. He had to sell out in a book. Like, God does not smile favorably on people who make these kind of decisions. And I think that's why he's going to be unhappy for a very long time. And he's going to realize that it was never worth it. And what did he do it for? Money? You're from the royal family, my friend. You really need money that bad? Like, it's truly shameful. And I think deceit and treachery are the most
second book's going to be great.
heinous and most disliked personal qualities.
Why I became a pastor,
witness somebody do. I think everybody hates them.
Why I divorced my miserable wife.
Anybody can fall victim to them. Anybody can fall victim to deceit or treachery.
Well, it's going to be a whole red pill book.
Everybody trusts someone, right? So if that person turns on you, you're always in trouble. So I think he thinks that he has the populace on his side. But I don't think he understands that when you out yourself as a snake, everybody intrinsically dislikes you.
Even if they enjoyed watching the show.
Oh, completely.
They've stepped away and went, okay, because I gave the example on my show. You know, you have the Kardashian family, but the one thing about them is they're thicker than thieves. So America does like a reality show, right? Like a reality show, but the reason why they have gained popularity is because actually they always back each other up. They still remained a family unit. 100%. And when you betray that, when you betray family, I think left and right, you just kind of go, okay, maybe that was a little too much.
Yeah. It was fun to watch.
It was fun to watch, but we don't really trust you.
I don't want to be your friend. Yeah, I don't want to be your friend.
I don't want to be your friend.
Yeah, completely. I mean, you're going to sell your own brother out?
What am I to you, right? If you do that to your own brother, what am I to you?
Absolutely crazy. And then he wonders why. And I also think what he probably doesn't understand, and if he's watching this, you never know, he might. Hello, Harry. If he's watching this, I don't think he even understands that even his woman views him that way. Even Meghan views you that way. Even Meghan looks at you and goes, I complained at you over William, and you were supposed to tell me to be quiet, and you didn't. So now I think you're a bitch. So, now what? And you wonder why she's never happy. So now he's in big trouble. I don't know what he's going to do with his life, but he's in big trouble. But
I mean,
it's interesting where I don't see how. It's actually an interesting conversation to have about how psyops can work as a whole, because when I analyze, especially as a man, and I always talk from the masculine frame, not because I'm a misogynist, but because I'm a man. And I understand the masculine frame because I am a man. If you stray from the archetype of masculinity, if you stray from honor, courage, if you're not dutiful, if you don't believe in putting honor in your last name, if you don't want to be physically and mentally strong, if you don't believe in finding problems to solve, you don't believe in having a difficult life, if you stray from this because you've been psyoped to stray from it, all you end up with is misery. And it's amazing that people will see anybody who's strayed from it end up perma-miserable and still fall for the psyop. I find it incredible that people don't think logically long enough to sit and say, okay, whose life do I actually want? I would never adopt the thinking of somebody whose life I didn't want. I don't know why people even do that. I could sit and have a conversation with Prince Harry for 10 hours straight, and he could be as compendious and convincing and concise, and he could be extremely perfectly articulate with his points. And at the end of it, I'd say, yeah, but I don't want to be you. So I don't want to think like you. So get fucked. But I wouldn't want to listen to him. So I don't know why people don't even just wake up and go, okay, whose life do I want to live? What kind of person do I want to be? Who do I want to be like? That's the kind of thinking I need to adopt and install in my mind, because we're all being programmed by someone to a degree. And I don't think you can escape programming. You can just choose the programming that you are going to install inside of your mind. I'm not going to sit and say I'm not programmed.
He's definitely
my
right
father
about
programmed
that.
me, my fight coach programmed me, the friends.
Yeah, he's absolutely right about that.
Something that Jordan Peterson says that I really love
Okay.
is that sacrifice is inescapable. But I'm paraphrasing what he said.
Yeah.
Something along the lines of, you can't get away from sacrifice, but a wise man is wise because he chooses his sacrifice rather than allowing life to burden you with a sacrifice arbitrarily. And
yeah,
what Andrew's talking about right here, where he's like, you have to decide who you want to be and fucking move in that direction consciously. That's a big part of that sacrifice, because you can't get away from the misery of life. You can't escape it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't agree 100% with what he said, but I definitely agree with that part. You cannot escape it. And it puts a lot of thought in, you know, like my father is a very humble gentleman, and before he retired, he just worked for the post office and he was pleased with that existence. So I think, you know, that challenges where some individuals just will be. Some individuals will not excel past what they just are.
Well, I obviously don't know your father, but it sounds like where he ended up at the post office is a big difference from where he started.
Absolutely.
So that perspective contrast from his mind is tremendous, probably. He's probably on top of the world.
Absolutely. So and to this day, he still holds that as something that anyone else in his position or anyone else that he knows that is seeking something should do what he did. And that's actually, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct on that. And it is so in the end here, wrapping up so we don't spiral too much. It is relative to the individual. It is, and that's something that I think that arrogance that he has, that arrogance that people always call out, that arrogance becomes an oversight for the average. And that's all I'm going to say.
I have around me program me, my brother programs me, my social circle programs me. We're all programmed to a degree. You have to be very careful who you're going to allow give you the programming, because if you put it up to society and culture, the current culture, as a man, you're going to end up like Prince Harry. Do you want to be Prince Harry?
It's a big question.
It's a big question.
And the answer is no.
Yeah, the answer is no. It's interesting what you said earlier about putting things back to biology, because a lot of human nature is certainly animalistically biological. And even if we look at Harry and Meghan and how they interact in their home, I obviously don't know, but I can almost guess to the T the arguments they're having. I can imagine him saying, I gave up my family for you. This is what you wanted. I gave you what you wanted. Why aren't you happy? I gave you everything you liked. And he's trying to use a logical or an emotional, well, he's trying to use an emotional argument, but it ain't gonna work because she doesn't respect him. He's trying to use a logical argument with her, trying to understand why she treats him so badly after he completely and utterly complied. But humans are biological, and she, as a woman, wanted him to be a man. She wanted him to have some degree of parameter and barrier. And if you don't put up any parameter or barrier as a man, what a woman's gonna do is she's gonna push you and push you and push you and push you. She's gonna see how far she can push you. That's the reality of it. We can talk about any relationship, whether it's Harry and Meghan or any other relationship. If you're a full-grown man and you don't set parameters or set barriers, the woman's going to push you and push you and push you until she eventually finds one. And we can look at that in a romantic relationship, but also people in general. If you're going to give to a taker, they're going to take and take and take and take until you eventually say no. That's how humans work. So she was waiting for him on a biological level to stand up and be a man and say, listen, you've joined the royal family. You're right. You had to bow to the Queen of England. Correct, because it's the royal family. Get over it. That's all he had to do. He could have saved himself all this mess. He could have saved himself all the running away and looking like a fool and upcoming divorce and all this garbage if he would just put his foot down. He never did. And she was trying to inspire in him the warrior. I think a woman sometimes tests a man to say, okay, how much will he put up with? Because they want to see, are you a man or not? What if a man's giving you shit? What will you do? They want to see if you're about it. And she was just testing him, and he failed every time. And that's why he's tried to perma-please her And now he's in a situation where he's asking her why she's unhappy when he's given her everything she wants. And she's unhappy because you gave her everything she wants because you're a punk.
Women don't want neutered men. They don't.
Absolutely.
Even if they personally neuter them themselves, it's not what they want in the end. So I'll ask the question.
Women don't respect weak men.
Well, like speaking for a lot of my subs, they categorize themselves as brats. And what that essentially means is that they're going to be with a man and they're going to intentionally push his buttons so that they can then sternly be corrected.
Yep.
And that gets them hot.
They like that.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about it is, in my experience and understanding things, like, I've always believed in standing your ground. Like, you know, the woman always has her thing. And this is why I would never say that a woman doesn't have her necessary roles in a man's life, whether we're talking a partner, a friend, or, besides, I was going to say a girlfriend. That's still the same as partner, or parents, or family members. They always play an essential role. But the thing about it is that it still should be in a man's mind at the end of the day. He is for himself to better himself, right? And the thing about it is that when you get challenged, what are you going to do? See, the first woman you're always going to encounter to give you that type of challenge is your mother. That's the first woman you have to deal with.
Yep.
And when and I'm not trying to say it in disrespect.
No.
You know, my mom's listening. Ma, I love you. You know what I'm saying? I don't want no beef. You know what I mean? But I'm just like, Mama Bronze. You know what I mean? But nah, and on some serious shit though, you know, your mom's just the first one. That's the first woman you have to deal with.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, learning about yourself as a man, you have to understand, you still have to say to yourself, like, yo, my mom doesn't say everything 100%. But at the same time, I could respect her and have a civil discourse with her when I disagree about something.
Absolutely.
And if you have that mindset with your mom, that plays pretty much how you would be around other women. Don't mean you got to disrespect your mother or your partners or whoever, your girlfriend or this, that, and the third. No. But at the same time, like, I have to make the decision for me as a man at the end of the day. And I need you to respect that. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
And that's how that's how I would move.
Yep.
What do you think men want in women?
That's a really good question. And I can answer that one easily. I think that the masculine realm that we operate in is based on respect. I think that men are constantly looking for a way to be respected. I think the world is hyper competitive and we're constantly always looking for status amongst our peers. This is why you will see a man give up his basically entire life to do something which will only gain him respect, even in a very small sphere. There are CEOs who go to work every day and don't even see their family and give up their entire life and work 12-hour days just to feel like the man in that office. Feeling important in that one office, in that one skyscraper, is worth him giving up his life because he feels like he matters. And if he gets more respect in that office than he does at home or anywhere else, that's where he's going to want to be. Men function on that. So if I had to build the ideal woman who could get any man on earth, what she would have to do is understand that I need to give my man as much status and as much respect as possible. I, by extension of him, being next to him, need to make him look respected. And a lot of this is the easy things we know. No one's going to respect a man who's with an ultra promiscuous woman. No one's going to respect a man who's with a woman who is back talking him or horrible to him in public. No one's going to respect a man who's with a woman who clearly isn't interested in him sexually, whatever. That's all the obvious part. But the hidden actual message behind all of it is that men are constantly looking for status and respect. And a woman who makes her man feel respected, not only from her, but from his peers, is the kind of woman a man's never going to want to lose. Right. So if I had a woman and I came home with all 5 of my friends and she came in the house and came in the room, who's hungry? Anyone want any food? It's not about food. I'm the G now. I'm the big boss. My woman wants to feed all of us. of the guys there, most.
Why is that bad? Why is it bad for her to gas you up? Why is that bad? She's gassing her man up, making him look like the fucking king.
Yeah.
He's given her everything. I've been in situations where I've given everything. I've been in that. I spent 7 fucking years doing it. Like, why is that difficult?
I've met women who they have like a very negative knee-jerk response to gassing up the man they're with.
And mind you, she didn't work. My chick didn't work.
Yeah. And when the guy either compliments himself or gets a compliment in some way, she undermines it. And if you notice that in the person you're with, you have to call it out immediately. It's like, why did you just undermine that? Why were you uncomfortable with me getting a compliment?
You're talking about my ex? Oh, sorry, you're talking about something else. So you were talking about my ex for a minute. I'm like, beautiful times.
Yeah.
Most of their chicks would never do that. That's respect. That's status for me. That elevates my status. So I think as a woman, if you're watching this and you want to keep a man happy, you need to wake up and say, how can I improve the status of my man to his peers? How can I make him look more important to the world? And as long as you take that basic mental frame, you can extrapolate that out to anything. Your man's not going to feel high status and important if you've had a whole bunch of sexual partners, because you're promiscuous. So obviously that's no. He's not going to feel high status and important if you belittle him in front of his friends or you argue with him in front of his friends. He's not going to feel high status and important if you disagree with him on small, minor issues about, if he votes one way, just vote the same way. Like these small, voting's not a small thing, but these things make the man look in charge. It increases his status, and that's what he's most interested in a woman. So that's what men are looking for. That's the secret for the women who are out at home. They're going, men are hard to please. No, men are actually very simple to please.
Men are not hard to please.
Make him feel important and make him look important. That's it.
Since when did we decide to stop upholding free speech as a basic right?
Hey, stop that. If you like Candace, subscribe to Candace. She's got all kinds of cool stuff. Otherwise, we're skipping.
Yeah, please do.
There we go.
There's also free VPNs out there. So
yeah, other VPNs out there. Get a VPN.
Yeah.
Everybody should use a VPN.
You need to get that VPN.
And I spent my entire time in China using VPNs. They fucking suck.
Yeah.
Even the paid ones. They're super slow. They're very unreliable. And the VPN company can just steal your data as well. So it's not like it's necessarily safe.
True that. I've been using PIA and I haven't had any problems with it. It's turned off right now. So feel free to hack me.
What was your mother like? I don't think I learned anything about her.
Yeah, so I had a fantastic mom. She did what a mother was supposed to do. I guess I was raised in a I call it hyper traditional. The modern world will call it misogynistic household. My father was in charge. It was his household. My mother was in charge of feeding us and clothing us and sending us to school, and she did a fantastic job. I think that as a boy, as a man, I always wanted to emulate my father. My father was the superhero. So my father instilled a lot of the mindset that I have, but my mother did a lot of the basic things that kept me alive, if that makes sense. She was a fantastic mom, and she's still alive today, and I love her very much. One of the first things I did when I got rich was retire her completely. So she is one of the people I take care of, and I'll take care of her for the rest of her life. And she did the absolute best she could. And that's the reason we moved to England. They decided to get divorced, and England has a better social care system. We had no money. So we got moved to England, and I grew up in Luton, which is the worst town in England, in an area called Marsh Farm, which is the worst area
of the worst
the worst town. So it's like as bad
UK team, chime in. How's Marsh Farm look?
As you can get, like the worst.
The UK in the chat. I know they can vouch for this.
Yeah, we got the UK connection, the UK sector out here. So you go ahead and chime in on that.
Place you can possibly go. I think my school had a 4% pass rate or something ridiculously low. So I grew up in a really bad area. But my mother, she was fantastic, and she did the absolute best she could. And she always loved my father to the end. But I think my father, in many ways, there's certainly been a lot of circumstances where he sacrificed his marriage to raise us in a very particular way. Because my mother and father would argue most over the raising of me and Tristan, because my dad was so hard on us. But he said, look, you boys are my legacy are more important than arguing with your mother. So I think that's actually why they broke up, because he was so hard on us. But I thank him for it. So
but
I don't want to.
Yeah, I think to a degree that's why my parents separated in the end. My father's third world / military influence was rather masculine. Put it that way.
I don't want to disrespect my mother by saying there isn't much more to say besides the fact she was a very nice, very loving, very attentive mother. That's what she did. But my dad was always my superhero. Right. I don't know what else to say. My dad was my superhero.
Well, I see it now. My son's
I agree with that.
And he's now toddler, terrorist, wakes up every day, wants to go to war. I don't want to go to war. I just want to love him.
Yeah.
And so he is obsessed with my husband. I mean, forget it. The second my husband walks through the door, it's like I don't even exist, right? Yep. Forget the fact that I held him for 10 months. I don't exist. But unless he's sick,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, then it's like totally mommy, mommy.
Oh,
mommy.
completely,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, okay. So when you want to go to war all day and you're feeling great, it's like dad, he literally just wants to fight him. He goes up and he hits him and he wants him to be thrown around. And I don't want to do it. I'm like, you're kind of big.
Yeah.
I don't want to toss you around.
Oh,
Go find
man.
your father.
Here, pause it.
So
Yeah, the natural
It
dynamic.
was when I was a kid, it was on site with my dad. We used to play this game called Knife Fight, where we would ambush each other and you just shout knife fight right before you attack the person. And you'd pretend that you're holding a knife and you would try to stab the other person to death. We played that game my entire childhood.
I love it. Absolutely love it. But you know what? There is a balance. And see, it's a chemical inherent balance. I felt that as a child. When I knew my father was coming in from work, I knew the excitement I had within myself to see my father. And no, the mom doesn't exist in those moments. It's nothing about the mom. You know what I'm saying? You wake up, you're hanging out with your dad. Now, my dad was always an early riser. My dad is a early riser. He's out in the yard. He's out doing something under the car. He's doing something in the garden. He's being industrious. He's going to somebody's house and helping them install a whole cabinet system or something. He's always got something going on. Hell, at 70 some years old, he'll go down the street and snow blow other people's driveways, the other seniors in the neighborhood. As old as he is now, he's got a gigantic snow blower. He'll just wheel it on down the road and clear other people's driveways and shit in the wintertime. So, you know what I'm saying? There's like this whole masculine dynamic centered around this man. So as a child, you see it, and that's what, your image of your hero becomes. All these great things that this guy can do, and I'm going to be a guy like this guy one day in some ways and not in other ways.
there actually is a natural proclivity that goes on there too, where like in the way he acts when a man walks through the door, any man, by the way, my son wants their attention. You can see that he seeks their approval at the age of 2. He'll cry in front of the girls, well, it's me, it's my assistant. If it's girls he's putting on, then when the guys are there, he instantly stops the crying and stops the tears. So it's so interesting to watch that and examine that in just a 2-year-old. So
well, that's biological, right? This is how we charge at the gunfire. This is how men charge at the gunfire, because we want the respect of our peers. We will literally commit suicide for the respect of our peers.
It's on my
something
mind
that's deep inside.
It's on and popping, bro. Knife fight. I mean, that's how we charge it up. That's how we get geeked. That's how we burn that energy. That's how we hunt that animal.
Side of us where it used to be, should be. They're trying to take it away from us. But how do you get men to go over the trench, over the line, and charge?
What was that?
I never had anything like that.
Yeah.
My dad's dad died when he was a little kid. So
he learned. So your father learned hitting the ground running.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he wasn't like that around. He all he wanted to do was just make my older brother accept him or respect him, and we kind of just were left by this. But me and my little brother left by the wayside. So.
No, when
he did the best he could, but
yeah, and don't get me wrong, my father did too. He did the best he could, and there were plenty, and did the best he could. But the thing is, there's the other side of that equation too. The side that's the not so great, and there's he grew up in a home that was very, very, very Catholic, strict, and very, very disciplinarian based, almost to the level of cruelty. And he had to temper that, plus temper PTSD from war, in order to be a father. And that was a journey he may or may not have failed. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I think part of growing up and becoming a man is realizing that your parents are human and they're deeply flawed.
Yes.
And in most scenarios, they did the best they could.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a big part too. Like, we don't see them as humans. They're
we don't.
They're something else.
They're ethereal to us. They're in this whole other place. And it took me. It actually, it's funny, guys. It took me until maybe within the last 5 years to kind of like quantify our relationships and see where we're at. Them in their 70s, me in my 40s, and that they've already been here, done that. Where I'm at now, under other conditions. These folks are just other humans. They, and everything kind of came together,
Yeah.
at machine guns. Well, you do it because everyone else is doing it. And you don't want to be the only so you have to do it. And you have to die. Like, that doesn't make sense. Think about it logically. It doesn't make any sense logically, but it's something biological inside of all of us because we have this innate feeling of duty and honor, and that's where the courage comes from. And they're trying to destroy that along with everything else. But you're right. This is how men biologically are designed to be. And I was the same when I was young. I remember looking at my dad just going, you're a superhero and I want to be a superhero. That's just how it was. So, but yeah, my mother's fantastic and I love her very much. And she's very proud of me and she's very proud of how we were raised. And she's so glad we were strong. Like, even when we were in jail, she was very concerned, but she's like, look, I know that if anyone can do it, you can do it. And yeah, so.
Do you want to be married?
Good question.
I heard that's the lover boy tactic. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but.
Yeah. And that's an interesting question because younger me would say no, absolutely not. And the reason younger me would say no is because I'd come up with all the arguments that there's no legal advantage really, and the woman can wreck you, and you can lose all of your things, etc. What's the point? I don't want the government involved in my life, all those kind of arguments. But as I get older, maybe I'm getting a bit softer. Maybe I do think sometimes you need to make a decision based purely on love and have the faith of love and faith in your love enough to say, I don't care what the government's going to do about this because I truly believe in us and I think we're going to make it. So would I get married? Perhaps some point, yes, in the future I might get married. Yeah, I'm not against marriage like I used to be. I used to be super against it. And I think that's because I grew up in an environment where everybody was divorced. So it's like, well, what's the point in this? Oh wait, so I give half my stuff.
Yeah, that's changed a lot since then.
I didn't.
What'd you say?
I said, yeah, it's changed a lot since then.
Yeah.
Understand the whole point of it. God. But now I think if I met the right woman, perhaps yes.
Yeah, marriage is good.
Yeah.
If it's the
convert me, Candace.
Yeah, if it's the right person, if you marry the right person, and I'm saying this as someone who grew up with divorced parents. Well, they got divorced after I was out of the house, but and this speaks to your earlier point about it either impacts you one way or the other. You either want marriage because your parents were divorced, you don't want marriage. I desperately wanted marriage, and I think the ways in which we both have grown, and the confidence that it gives you. I think there is something about people are, how do you do what you do every day? Because you cannot impact. My life is so stable. The nucleus of our household is so stable. And to be able to raise kids and have them see that example of the perfect yin and the yang, there's something divine about it. There's something spiritual about it. It's why I won't accept you. I think you are actually a libertarian right now, and I won't accept you as a libertarian. I think you will not be one in a few years. If I had to make a prediction, I think you will lean towards conservatism, because even in just the crack of you talking about the attack on masculinity, because first you say, oh, well, if everyone wants to do what they want to do, if you guys all agree and you want to be homosexuals, fine. But then we'll start to realize that libertarianism, live and let live, is what welcomes in through the door. I'm, very against every ill that homosexuality has brought. And again, these are consenting people that are doing what they want to do.
This is true.
But look, evil is evil, sin is sin, and we're yesterday talking about homosexual marriage. Today we're talking about transing.
Well, it's such a slippery.
She's a staunch Christian, right? Or
Yeah,
is
she
now?
is. And it's pretty much the same stance with Islam. So he's, it's the same. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, they all have the same stance. Only slightly difference on the sense that in Islam is, it doesn't stop you from being a Muslim, but it's like your actions have consequences, and obviously it can't be something that can be displayed outside. It's not something that said that you cannot display it outwardly. If you want to do it behind closed doors, on it, it's up to you and God. That's pretty much the stance on it.
Yeah.
But it cannot be something that can be introduced into a society.
In my staunch Catholic days, that's the way we looked at it.
But not anymore. Not the Pope is all like, hey, it's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with a little penis. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think Andrew Tate, I think I'm in the same shoes as Andrew Tate. I'm still 50-50. Like, I'm still like, nah, I don't really want, the government in my business. But then you just recognize, the environment always plays a factor on why you might have a certain view towards marriage. Because we don't open our eyes into sitting up there saying maybe the girl I'm with maybe this might be the one for me that I need and stuff like that. Maybe I might rethink like, oh, maybe I might want to marry her and stuff like that. And it's, things like that. It's just about how all things are, because I think in this society, the problem is we thinking with the idea, like, what you trying to take from me? Like, what do you want from me? And da-da-da, this, that, and the third. And yo, like, it took me a while, like a girl that I was interested in, like this girl, yeah, this girl was just like, what the fuck, you trying to use me or something? Like, what are you, why you here? You know what I'm saying? And then when you get through the layers and the cracks, you'd be like, oh, I actually really like this girl. Like, so it's like, my idea about it is like, even seeing the marriage, like moms and pops, like married for years, and seeing how the relationship was basically on some best friend shit, where basically they got along with each other, where it doesn't have to be all lovey-lovey all the time. They crack jokes on each other. They're able to just be like, oh yeah, my son, Bronze, like, he doing this, he doing that. And then have my little sister. So my thing is, I tell the people, because I think today the problem is like, I get the trials and tribulations, the differences between women and men, especially if it's going with the whole entire modern woman, shit and all that other stuff. I always tell dudes, even on my channel, you pick what's right for you. Would you deny a woman who's right for you just because how this society is and how it's going? Probably not. Because if you didn't want that, then you would probably regret it in the future, or you probably regret it right after you do it, because you would realize this girl was actually for me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And instead of just like taking it in for what it is, I just thought like, yeah, she's not for me because she's probably gonna be on that liberal or leftist shit or this, that, and third, or yeah, she's modern or da 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 da. It's like, you never know. You gotta explore the journey. That's why I always tell each and every girl I've been with, like, I want to explore this journey with you. You know what I'm saying? See if it's worth it. See if it's not worth it. If it's not worth it, I'm gonna just get off.
Yeah.
Exit out the back door. Call. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Stage left. I'm out.
Yeah,
stage left.
No, sir, Jay Cavassier, I am not married.
I basically do the same thing. I meet good women. I give them what I consider like I give the relationship a fair opportunity. And then just communicate very openly when you come to the realization that this person isn't going to be the mother of my children. So this is necessarily temporary.
Yes. And learning that lesson a little bit farther is a piece of regret that I deal with.
Free slope. This is the thing, right? You're completely right, because the idea of live and let live was a fantastic one if it could actually operate without slippery slopes and it descending into chaos and anarchy, and it can't. So this is the difficult thing about it. You get called a bigot for saying, this is my line, I don't agree with this, and you're going to be called bigoted and you're going to be attacked. But truthfully, it's just understanding that, like you're saying, it's a slippery slope. And it's unfortunate.
So what is the slope that we want then? Okay, then we should aspire towards heterosexual relationships. We should aspire towards marriage. We should, and this is the mold that I am selling all the time. Wouldn't have said this 10 years ago. I was probably more libertarian when I first got into politics. And what's the big deal if people want to do this to themselves? And then I realized, no, there is a reason.
Yeah. No, and you're completely right.
I don't think she's ever been more libertarian. I have never heard, because I've seen her go up. I don't think I've ever heard those words come out of her mouth. I think she was always extremely very
religious,
conservative and religious.
And I want to say religious. The religious came afterwards, though. She was just conservative. She was like just a regular, I guess we'd say Republican on it. She's now become more of a actual conservative Christian, because there's like a little difference, on there.
Yeah.
Because I'm currently in a legal jeopardy or a legal situation where people who have nothing to do with my life are trying to say that people were victims when they weren't, when everyone was consenting, and you're right. I agree with you there. I also think with the whole LGBT argument, it's interesting, because I will be honest and say I do think there is a difference between G and T. I think they are different things.
Of course.
I think they're massively different things. However, you're right. It's a shame it's such a slippery slope where you can't just say to people live and let live, because it's going to be hijacked and Trojan horsed. And they're going to Trojan horse it, and they're going to inject something in it that destroys the lives of every single person on the planet. And they're going to try and do it. So you have to draw a hard line. You have to be a bigot. You have to never give an inch, because if you give an inch, they take 10 miles.
That's more than 10 miles. Look at where we're at. I mean,
that's literally the Islamic point of view,
These are real
that's
evils
why they're
that we're
like,
fighting.
nope. It's a no, and that's it. Islamic point of view, there's no democracy. It's like, no, we have this set in stone,
Right.
and we don't care if the votes change. There's certain things that are just completely and utterly set in stone.
Yeah.
Things that are just a no, and if you don't like it, there's the door.
Today. And I think it's because we haven't put those firm lines in the sand and said, no, actually, there is such a thing as right and wrong.
Well, this is the thing I love about, and this is where religion comes in, right? Because I used to be an atheist.
Oh, here we go.
And then exactly what you just said about there's something divine about marriage, and exactly like you said, there's such a thing as sin. Everything you're talking about is religious. You're completely correct. You eventually, if you're going to wake up and be the kind of person who has hard parameters and said, this is right, this is wrong, it's very difficult to do that without then turning and understanding that has to come from God. Who else is going to decide what is right and what is wrong? And people say, oh, they're all man-made religions. Well, then why does it go against so many of the wills of man? Some of the sins that man want to go and do.
Subjective.
Yeah, everything's subjective, and everything is subjective and relative to the individual.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of it is alienable rights. That's the whole point of it. People don't understand. It's like there are certain rights that are God-given.
Mm-hmm.
Your right to protect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The right for somebody not to murder you, or you protect yourself from that.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain things that are just, and even, atheists, I'm like, okay, they always want to take that aside. Okay, so if there's nothing, where do you get your parameter of what's good and bad? And they always come up with, oh, I guess everything is, so it's like, oh, okay, so if somebody thinks raping kids is okay, then it's okay for them. And you have this argument with them, they're like, well, I guess so. I guess, yeah. I mean, it's kind of lunacy. It turns into what we have now, where they're doing this thing for kids. So when you have something that's like, no, these are some God-given rights, God-given morality,
parameters around
on it, then your feelings then don't matter. So yeah, God gave me the authority for me to protect myself from harm.
Right.
I don't care what your feelings,
Right.
These are what we perceive as good because they come from a higher power on it. So when you have those, nobody can take those away. That's the point people don't think to comprehend, because if not, then everybody's subjective morality then becomes okay, and then that could spiral into craziness.
Yes, absolutely. It opens us up to spiral.
The religions are against. If we made a religion wouldn't be against our own sins, would it?
Right.
So it's interesting that this is almost proof for God in so many ways, when you're going to wake up and realize that there is genuine evil in the world and there's genuine good in the world, and there are two sides and two camps. And I do believe that the good is on the side of truth, and I do believe that comes from God. And there's many different ways to God. I think there is one God, and there's different religions, and I don't want to argue the differences between the religions, because I think we have a lot more in common than we have, especially in the fight against evil, than we have as differences.
I can agree.
But yeah, it's super interesting, and you're right.
I can
Firm
agree.
lines are absolutely not really required, and if we don't have them, it's why society ends up in the position it's in, with so many subjective lines and your truth, my truth, the truth.
Yeah.
And you're completely correct. It's not very often I sit with.
Yeah, that I'm living my truth.
Yeah.
That means you're living in a imaginary reality.
It's a subjective, whatever you're feeling on that day.
It's a subjective reality.
Yeah, whatever you're feeling on that day is the truth.
Right. Is your truth.
Yeah.
With somebody who I feel like says something and I feel corrected, but you're right. Live and let live is hijacked. It's hijacked. And it's unfortunate that me as a person now, especially, and maybe this is more of a personal thing. Maybe this is more of a personality trait, where I'm in the position I'm in. I'm saying what I believe is the truth, and I'm out here trying to help people, and I'm saying about the difficulties I went through in my life so others don't have to go through them, just as you said. But if somebody doesn't want to listen to me, I'm like, okay, you don't want to listen to me. I don't care. You do what you want. But that live and let live mind frame can be hijacked, because when I'm saying to people, okay, don't do what I want, or don't do what I believe to be good, don't do what God believes to be good, do what you want, I don't care. And then they get in a large enough group and they end up attacking morality.
It redefines, normalcy, it redefines morality. And, I recently was sitting down having a conversation with a friend of mine, Brandon, and when I first got into politics, I wasn't so staunchly against homosexual marriage. I didn't speak out on certain things, abortion. And then I saw it firsthand. I just examined just the differences in my relationships with heterosexual couples and homosexual couples. And homosexual couples, I'm talking about two men. You don't realize that God designed a man to be with a woman because it prevents men from giving entirely into the worst components of who men are. Just having sex
Women are
all the
gatekeepers.
time.
Yeah, women are
right? You can't do that. If you're with a woman,
Yeah.
okay, maybe it's menstruation, maybe it's pregnancy, maybe it's afterbirth,
Yeah.
but there are these natural barriers that make it so that your relationship has to be about something else other than just sex.
Yep.
When
Yeah.
I'm with
And it's a couple other things on there too.
Damn it,
as well.
she had a lot of word salad right there, but yeah.
There's all and there's all. I mean, and we're talking about when there's two women together on it. They're emotional on there. They have a higher tendency to be more abusive, especially when there's kids around on there. And like same thing with men on it. Is it a homosexual men? They have more tendency to have more STDs. We saw the problem with the pox on there as well, and the damage that so there's a whole slew of things that you could extrapolate from that as well. But if you can't talk about it because feelings, feelings are feelings,
Yeah.
my homosexual friends, they talk about sex. I don't think they realize that heterosexual couples don't just sit down for lunch and be like, we banged 20 times last night because we could. They think that that's normal.
True.
So then you talk about how that bleeds into pornography, that bleeds into wanting to talk about sexuality in the classroom, how that might bleed in to suddenly wanting to speak to children about sex and go, oh, this is all normal. It's actually not normal, but because it's normal in a homosexual relationship, you think that it's actually normal.
Totally right.
And so I have suddenly realized, and this is why I become so staunchly conservative, how it all bleeds into everything. And there is such a thing as objective rightness, and there is such a thing as objective wrongness.
Completely correct. And I agree with absolutely everything you just said. So my question would be then, what do we do? Do we force everybody to be Christians or force everybody to be religious, or how do we do it?
Well, I think the first thing is having the courage to talk about it. And nobody even talks about these topics anymore because they just go, oh, they've won. So we need to let this go.
So,
that used to be a thing, though. It used to be, I mean, Sharia law is just a word, but it's just a law based on a religion. Like Jewish people have their own Sharia law based on the Torah. And in this country, all of that used to be illegal. It used to be until the progressive movement came around. So it used to be based on, it wasn't a quote Christian country. It was more of a conservative country. They were conserving some ideals, but they have their own based Sharia law, which is a law based on their Bible, and certain things were outlawed because of it. And the second those things were removed, then it opened up the doors for other things. Because the whole problem with progressiveness is that once they get one win, it's never enough. But there's more, and then there's more, and there's more, and it never ends.
Yeah,
it'll never end.
Yeah, the cultural sprawl.
It won't end.
It's a sprawl. No, it won't. Yeah. It won't end.
What is that in the Netherlands? What is it now? They're making incest legal in some areas in the Netherlands.
I don't know, but I've already heard that there's a movement in some conservative states out west for that to happen as well. The Mormon states.
But that's already a thing in some, like I think it's some Netherlands. It's like cousins are okay, or brothers and sisters. That's okay. Like it's because it never ends. It just never ends.
Yeah, it's a sprawl. It's a cultural sprawl.
The Islam needs to be spread across the world. That fixes everything.
All right.
And Mount Shad, you get to have 4 wives. So you know what? He'll be happy.
Yeah, but I need to also be able to drink and do drugs and be degenerate in lots of other ways. You can't just have 4 wives. It's easier to just have 4 girlfriends and not be Muslim.
You'll get used to it, not having the drugs and everything on. There'll be other things to do. You have other things on your plate.
I don't know, man.
Come on. You'll find other things to preoccupy your time, businesses and things on there. Creating an empire and leading troops to war.
I'm gonna have about 30 sons. Okay, some of them are gonna have names. Some of them are just gonna get a number. And I'm just gonna drop them. Once they turn 10 years old, I'm just gonna drop them in the forest with a hatchet and some rope. And I'll be like,
a stick and a rope.
When you become a man, come back to me and kill me and assume my kingdom.
A stick and a rope.
That'll be an awesome when they see them all
Show
charging,
you
and
how to
then
do it, son.
That's how you got to do it, kid.
It's like
Yeah, I'm standing on top of the throne, cutting them down as they're coming close to me.
as the one slays him, you're like,
It's a knife fight right
It's like
there, man.
it's a
You
flood of
truly are
kids
my
just
son.
coming up, creeping up on one
Yeah,
another,
I'm
just
proud of
climbing up
you.
one another to
I'm
try to
so-
get to dad.
I love you, my son.
I'm gonna get Mountain Chad. No, I am. I am.
I'm the next Mountain Chad. Well, yo, shout out to
And
Jay
that's how the line of
Cavassier.
succession will be.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Jay Cavassier. Shout out to Josh Stoic, Sunkiss, Miss Mona. I see y'all still out there hanging out, keeping the chat popping. Just wanted to say throw some quick flowers to y'all. Thank you very much.
I think this is
And-
one of the reasons why
and-
Islam is spreading so fast. To be honest, discipline, logic first. No, it's emotional second. It's strict guidelines on everything on there because people are now craving that
I've had
discipline.
yes, and I've had a very disappointing adventure with religion. And what I learned maybe 6 years ago or so is the chicken bone aspect of it and a thorough respect for the different religions and then denominations within. But at its root, just chicken and bone. And that's where I'm at this point. It's more of I almost claim an agnostic view, but it is based in a lot of Christianity and the Muslim faith, and now I'm kind of venturing in and learning a little bit more about Judaism, because there are so many parallels, just like you said, Alpha. There are so many parallels between the different religions that it almost becomes more of a lifelong mission to understand them all, which is impossible. But within that, you fall within those natural God-given rights and boundaries, right?
It's called.
It's
they call it the
constant.
filter.
It's a constant across all the religions.
Well, Islam calls it the fitra. It's your inside innate on there that, if you take all the social pressure, everything on there, and you internally know that there is only one God, that there is a higher power to some extent, and that there is some God given on there. It's the only religion that talks about that on there, and it has a guideline for everything. But it's all based on what's best for the community, not for you. So it's about taking the you aspect, what's best for the community, what's best for people around you, what's best for your family. And that life is a journey of knowledge. That's what Islam is all about. It's a journey of knowledge. You are to seek knowledge, and they say once you seek knowledge, you will come to Islam.
Gents, we're at 40 minutes on this, so we're gonna run 1 hour. Again, this total is 3 hours, total of 3 hours. So we'll probably run a part 3. So we got about another 20, 30 minutes or so, and we will call it for this episode. Just wanted to put that out there for the audience as well. Yes, go ahead, Mountain Chad.
I was just going to say, I dictate my own reality. I make up what rules I think matter. I decide completely subjective view of morality, and my principles are what I live by, and I'm not interested in what anyone else has to say.
Right on.
Enough said.
Enough said.
More and more you're seeing culturally people are afraid of being canceled. I mean, what I just said to you is grounds for a cancellation. How dare you question this? How dare you? I even believe now, after seeing the ways in which society has made children believe that they're all trans. I went to university, I went to high school, I didn't graduate with a single trans person. Now you want me to believe 1 in 4 children suffers from identity issues? Yeah. No, that's socialization. Completely. You place that on them. So is it such a far stretch to imagine that the same happens?
Yeah, socialize your goddamn kids, parents. Socialize them. My God.
Happened in the when homosexuality came to America, and then we popularized it and we put Ellen on TV.
Oh, my bad, Bronze. Were you
I remember
No,
when
it just reminded me of like my last college, because I was just like, yo, I went to a liberal college, but I didn't know anything about them being that crazy liberal with like trans flags and all of like being in a classroom with a non-binary and like trans and stuff like that. I didn't, because when I that was I was like, I've always wanted to go to that school since I was in high school, but my thing about it is that's also the school where I did when I became a mentor, and they was talking about it's nothing wrong to embrace another man by hugging, and I just was like, look, I be trying, y'all. It's just like I told one of my loved ones, I was like, look, I can't lie to you, and look, YouTube, don't look. I'm trying to protect my twins channel because I don't want him, But I said one of the things that I couldn't stand being in that school was non-binaries. I couldn't, because it was the pronouns that was killing me. Like they really made it so they were like Z Zer Zim. I'm like, yeah, what is your name? Yeah, I can't be doing this shit. Like I can't be doing
At the beginning,
I think there's nothing wrong with being uncomfortable with other people.
Absolutely.
There's a difference between like what's the word? It's like to be bigoted. Like what's the verb for being bigoted? Whatever. You know what I'm trying to say.
Let's ask ChatGPT.
Oh, like persecuting.
There's
a difference between
to feel persecuted
and then just persecuting somebody and just feeling uncomfortable around them.
Right. And it's not a phobia. It's not a fear. There is a discomfort.
Exactly.
It is not a fear.
If you see a picture of a banana and you cry, that's a phobia.
Right.
Being afraid of sharks is not a phobia. Sharks deserve a lot of fear.
Yes.
Shark will eat your ass.
Well, yeah, there's a difference between persecuting people and just not being comfortable around them. And everyone has the right to not be comfortable around whatever you want to not be comfortable around.
Absolutely.
Gave Melissa Etheridge a platform, and suddenly pride parades were happening everywhere. Whereas you don't see this here. You don't see this here in Romania, where we're sitting, because we haven't. This is the power of culture. This is the power of pop culture. When you make something, you have to go the other way. You need to normalize it. You need to say, actually, this is abnormal, and this is what normal is, and it's not both. So yeah, I've become very conservative in all of these perspectives.
And you're completely correct. You nailed it when I said, do we force someone to be Christian? You nailed it by changing to the exact thing I was going to say. It's about culture. It's a cultural issue, and it's completely not correct. And
what's that?
I became even more conservative when I had a daughter. That was like
I can see that.
A switch inside of me.
Yep.
That I became more conservative than anybody, than my pastor parents and everybody else on there. Even my own brother. Like my brother was like, yo, what are you talking? Because and it was like a switch, and I don't understand how fathers don't have like that. Doesn't happen for them. I'm like,
absolutely.
I find that so weird that when I talk and they have their own, it's like they don't care, or they're just so disconnected from everything. I'm like, I became like a really staunch conservative the second, and I have 2 daughters, man. So I'm ready. I'm ready to murder someone to come, trying to do some, trying to instill some of that craziness to my kids, man. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll go to jail for the rest of my life.
Coming up here in a week, I've already done Baby Mama Struggle is a Lie with a shout out to Miss Queen Sunkissed. I'm doing Baby Daddy Struggle is a Lie with Kings and Dreams coming up. And I'm going to it's gonna be lit. It's gonna be lit because
I can't wait to see the men with kids. See what happens.
The men that fuck, bro. I'm telling you, I think I would be racing Mountain Chad to the end of the line for the armory and moat digging technology and fortification. Motherfucker.
Yeah,
my 6 wives and my 35 sons out on a farm in Tennessee, literally inside of a castle. That
absolutely
would be ideal.
Absolutely. And in the middle of the castle is the one daughter that just happened to pop out.
Yeah,
in a tower.
I do think that there's something important about men having daughters.
I do too.
So I guess I'll have with each wife. with each wife, I'll have 9 sons, and then my 10th kid will be a daughter.
There it is.
Like I said, it's so that dynamic is such a, you know, so different. Like I mean,
I'm sure it
you
is.
know,
I bet it is.
I've had to, you know,
I'm sure it is.
because you have to tone down. Like I've had to tone down my, you know, a little bit on how I am, because I've always been very blunt
Yes.
to fault on there, and I had to like tone that down on it. But it has made her so much stronger than all the other kids on there.
Well,
Oh my god.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with
vicious.
that. There's nothing wrong with that in moderation, and being aware of it is the key piece, because the people who just unleash are the ones who become abusive, the ones who don't regulate themselves. So knowing that and being aware of that, you actually use that as a learning piece. You actually teach them that, hey, this is the way it is. This is the way the world's going to be. This is Dad's lesson now. And then you move on from it. But hey, that's just, 2 cents.
I think that's actually one of the reasons why. I mean, I don't state this with arrogance. I don't want people to understand. I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm trying to make people understand the situation I'm in. I was the most Googled man on the planet at one point. So I had a massive impact on the culture, and it was dragging in the complete opposite direction that the culture wants to move in. I'm dragging men in the complete opposite direction that the Satanists and the people who want to turn us all into slaves want us to go in. So I think that anybody who sits at home and realizes that my legal troubles appearing basically directly after that is a coincidence, then you're awfully naive. So it's unfortunate also that the way the world works, at a certain level of influence and power, the justice system almost breaks down. We see that even in America and most other countries. It all just becomes a big game and a big show, and it's about power plays and a whole bunch of conversations behind the scenes. It's not about justice anymore. So it's very concerning, because you are right. We are in a culture war.
Yep.
And it's culture which is absolutely not really defining the direction in which we move. And this is one of the reasons why I reverted to Islam, because I feel like the Islamic culture is the strongest. You feel the culture.
I was
You
wondering,
feel
because
it.
you were Christian, and I definitely do not know enough about the Islamic faith to sit here and debate you on it. I'm never a person that will debate somebody on something that I'm not an expertise on.
Yeah.
But I will say that I'm sad that you're not a Christian anymore, because I can sense perhaps it's because you felt that Christians weren't doing a good job defending their beliefs.
Yeah, I think that God should be feared. I believe that God should.
Why? Why would anybody think otherwise? Why would anybody? And see, that's the problem with society right now, I think, at its root. It doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter what you adhere to. You are humbling yourself before an almighty. You are humbling yourself before something that's bigger than you are. If you don't have that, and understanding of that you really ain't shit. No one can help you. I mean, there's something. If it's a fucking spaghetti monster, if it's an energy, if it's a series of energies all smushed together into a primordial ooze, that's where you came from. That's what birthed you.
Nah.
He said, nah.
Nah.
Run it.
No, I rely on the super ego.
Okay.
I think that this goes back to like that conversation about imposing your state of mind onto the world around you.
Yes.
I think part of that insistence of who I am and what I am, it necessarily has to supersede ideology. And so that's always something that's rubbed me the wrong way when religious people are like, you must bow to the power of God. I'm like, that doesn't play out for me.
Okay.
Well, in Islam, it's not it's like you should, and it's up to you wherever you want to or not. On there, a Christian, to be honest, it depends on the 40,000 denominations there are right now, 40,000 or so, give or take a few.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
same guy, by the way, same guy.
It's it's more of it's a personal. If you submit yourself to him, then he'll guide you on the guidance on it, and as you follow the guidance on it, you'll live a better life. So we should do all those things on it, but he gives us the free will to do it or not. It's up to you whether you want to do it or not. That's the whole premise of Islam. It's never to impose on. It's like I can give you what we believe are the facts, and it's up to you. And after that, I'm like, I did my part. And after that, that's it. It's whatever whatever you choose to do on. And we believe there's consequences to everything. Everything is a cause and effect. And it's up to you to decide.
Yep.
Your own journey. And then if I'm right, then there are consequences to not doing it. And if I'm wrong, I still live a better life than most people, because I live a life of discipline, charity, caring for others, and being the best version of me. So in my way, I don't have any downside on there. Or something like Christianity, where everything is subjective, emotional. And even if you try having a conversation with them, it always turns into this hateful, weird thing on there. They don't even understand each other.
Judgment.
And then everybody has their own version of themselves, and it's like it just doesn't make any sense. But that's just my take on that.
Well, I think that my ideology lends itself to my arrogance, because I can sort of pat myself on the back. Because when I'm being a good person, it's because I'm deciding to be a good person. It's not because anyone's telling me or any ideology is leading me. When I'm honest and forthright and honorable, these are just decisions. These are just pure, cold-blooded decisions I've made. I've just decided I'm going to be honorable. I'm not
going to punch that baby as I walk past it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to trip that old man with the walker. And I think... I don't know. That allows me to feel even better about my decisions, knowing that they're purely from myself.
Okay.
But we can have a whole discussion about this.
I forget. This is the whole. Where
do you get good and where do you get your good from, bad from? Because from yourself, but you got to get from somewhere on it. Where did those come from? They got to go back to somebody, murder, or you don't murder. I don't murder anybody. I was like, where did that come from? You didn't just wake up one day and say murder is not a good thing, or stealing is not a good thing. That all comes back to somewhere, to something.
Well, doesn't that go back? Doesn't that ultimately break down to like that ego thing in the end? Doesn't it come down to that from the psychological? Anyway, Alex Alpha, you started this. This could totally be a whole nother episode.
Oh yeah, we could make a whole.
We could do a whole series
in the future.
Shit, you guys.
We've only come 2 minutes and 41 seconds since you.
I know. Let's keep going.
Should be feared. I fear God. It's one of the only
philosophical fuckers.
Only things I fear. And I believe that also you see God to a degree, or you see religion how you see yourself. And I see myself as a person of strong principles and strong morals. And I like to think of myself as the kind of person nobody really wants to cross. Not because I'm a psycho, but because I'm a man of capability and I'm smart and I'm strong and nobody wants to make an enemy of me. So I feel like I find an affinity to a belief system which has very similar outlooks. And there's a whole bunch of other things I can say from the Quran and Islamic texts, etc. But to keep it very vague and very broad for people who are not Islamic, I felt God when I was in an Islamic country. If I went to an Islamic country, I felt God. You don't feel any God. How is it a Christian country if Satanists are mocking Jesus on the streets?
I understand what you're saying. I was trying to gather my...
What's that?
It's never been a Christian country. This has been more of a conservative country based on some teachings from the Bible. Because to be a real Christian, then your laws and guidelines are based on completely.
We came
on that, and there's no democracy because it's like
pilgrims came over to escape religious persecution.
Yeah,
they came over for religious freedom. That was the base. Right.
That's why a true Muslim country, they have the Sharia law, which is completely based on the Holy Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet.
Fun fact: there were Muslims on the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria.
Yeah. And there's no democracy because those are all believe that those are all texts, that were revealed by God. So that's why there's no democracy. There's no changing that.
Right.
Because you have to be higher power than God, which there isn't, to change those laws. This country, the democracy, so it's a secular country, that based on conservative ideas.
Right.
So people don't understand this has never been a Christian country.
Right. And when you say conservative ideas, it's not like the
They were
right wing
conserving.
weird
No.
shit that we got going on today.
They wanted to conserve. They wanted to conserve certain ideas.
Right.
They wanted to conserve.
There was it's the conservation
certain,
and preservation of certain ideals and guidelines.
And people just think because there were a whole bunch of churches that it's a Christian country. I don't think people even understand.
No.
Like, the Jewish people have a Jewish country because they have all of their laws are based on the Torah and everything they under scriptures. That's why there's no changing it, because they can't, because there's nothing that supersedes, something that's revealed from God.
Yep.
So that's why this has never been a secular. This has been more a secular conservative country, and people don't understand how to differentiate,
Yep.
that.
Yep.
My head, what pulled him away from Christianity? And I said it's probably the example. If you're thinking that America is a Christian country and you're thinking that the United Kingdom is a Christian country,
They're not.
going, Christianity is getting it wrong.
Yeah.
And the truth is that America is no longer a Christian country. We're being run
It
by people that are
wasn't.
satanic.
It never was,
satanic.
you weirdo.
Hollywood is running America.
Right.
So you're not wrong. But I think that right now America is facing a spiritual battle. And for the first time in a very long time, Christians are starting to stand up and speak about our principles.
I hope so.
And I could have used you as a
I know. But I have seen in California, I've seen Christians and Muslims get side by side when they were complaining about the LGBT
I did see
in
that
schools, which is fantastic. And I know what you're saying, and that is true. But it's almost like when I go to an Islamic country, I feel God around. You see it. You see it in the way the people are dressed. You see it in the fact that everyone's in a family. You see it in the fact that there's a mosque on every corner. It's in the air. And it's almost like when I'm in Dubai and I'm talking to my friends, my Islamic friends, and I explain to them the things you have to protect your child from in an American school, they literally think I'm lying. They're like, no, surely. Like, it's mind-bending to them.
What about African countries that are Christian?
Okay, so yeah, this is interesting. So
yeah, they still are mind blown by the concept of what we're fighting in America. So America is unique. We shouldn't say that this is the blanket.
You're right. They're right. There are Christian countries which still
They are
and they're like, what do you mean men can be women? Like they think you're crazy.
And we're in Romania, and Romania is a country which is very conservative and very Christian.
Very Christian.
And they don't buy into any of this garbage either.
None of it.
So this is absolutely not true. It's unfair to say all Christian countries are like that.
America is an exception and not in a good way.
Yeah, I think like the whole West.
My mother's people are Romanian.
The West is, I've said on my show the entire time, the West is falling. The fact that we're even having these debates is not good.
Yeah, the West is falling. And
but there's still laws there's still things that they can practice as quote against Christianity in the Bible. They can still do on those countries. That's why they're not Christian countries. The only thing they had that was Christian at one point was when the Vatican used to own Rome, and all their laws were based on the Bible, and that didn't last for too long because everything was loosely based, and they had the whole belief where the Pope can change the laws of God because he's whatever. There's a whole topic on it, but it still was not a quote Christian run. So that's why it always fails.
Rome is awesome. I want to buy Rome when I grow up.
Russia, Christian country.
Yeah, absolutely, a very Christian country. So yeah, you are right, but I felt an affinity to Islam. I felt God in the air, and it's difficult for me to explain any other way.
Okay, that's fair enough. I won't push you any further on that. All right, let's get to your case that's happening today. So, and why conservatives are screaming about it in America, and why they feel that Tucker didn't push you enough on this case.
Push me.
Okay, so first and foremost, one thing I want to clarify for people that are watching this is that there seems to be this understanding that you are being prosecuted, or you're being indicted rather, for human sex trafficking charges. I've read the indictment, and I do want to make it clear, the words human sex trafficking occur on the indictment, but then it makes it very clear that what they're referring to is they've kind of extended the term. It's not what we think about in America when you think of a bunch of children being put into a truck and taken over the border against their will. They're basically saying that if you trick a woman into coming into a country by using the lover boy method, then they consider that to be human sex trafficking. So the definition has definitely expanded over time.
Well, it's also ridiculously misogynistic to believe that women can't make their own decisions on anything. So the whole thing about
So
it
if you're
is
a playboy,
yeah, you're correct.
See, that's
So
the
if
other
you're-
thing. They diminish women.
if you're a mom-
Women
so-
diminish other women's ability to make decisions, and they use that as leverage. I'm confused by that. Once a woman is 20, once a woman's 18. Back in the day, it was once a woman started bleeding. Scratch that from the fucking record. We have other norms. Once a woman's fucking 18 in most states. Once a woman's 20.
14 in Spain.
I mean, yeah, but you know, scratch all that for norms, right? Japan just changed 13. So you know what I'm saying? For social norms in America, 18 years old. That's a grown woman. She can vote. If her counterpart was next to her, that motherfucker's off at war. So let's be real about this. We infantilize our children. Our people. We infantilize our adults.
Well, you know, one thing that maybe Judge, tell me if I'm wrong, is just that with the idea if it's a woman that's 18 and older, again, to what you were saying, she made that decision. You know what I'm saying? So how is it one of those sort of things, quote unquote, lover boy tactics or this, that, third? It just seems like some way of saying, oh, manipulation, da-da-da-da. And then that plays into Andrew Tate's whole entire misogyny act or whatever it is.
Right.
In which they're trying to say, yeah, he's guilty for this because I bet you he did this, that, and third with the woman. But again, if the woman decided to see Andrew Tate and go to the other country with him, and again, I don't really know the full story, the full context.
Yeah.
Whose fault is that in? It's not Andrew Tate's fault. If the woman decided.
So I think we can agree that both things can be true. Like, we can, from a ethical perspective, be like, oh, well, he's lying and misleading people. That's a shitty thing to do. On the other hand, he's lying and misleading adults who are making decisions. They're not under the influence of anything. Why are we removing their autonomy? Why are we treating them like implicitly victims?
Right.
And if all it takes is to lie to somebody,
right,
and have them travel for that to be human sex trafficking,
right?
How many women are manipulating men and getting them to travel, getting them to send them?
How many women run pockets?
Ever going to be considered?
How many women run pockets,
going to be
bro?
Considered predatory?
Right.
No. It's always, though, the man should have known better.
This
seems like a situation where the woman should have known better.
Yep. Absolutely. So it becomes a choices issue at that point.
So anybody that's pretty much rich or has status, if they were to DM somebody to come over where they're at as trafficking,
we have handicapped
as trafficking. Then we have
handicapped humanity. We have handicapped the intelligence of humanity.
Lying to somebody we cannot live in a world where lying to somebody can get you a fucking trafficking charge.
Right. Yeah. Imagine a fucking workplace. That's a trafficking charge and a Me Too. Fuck out of here.
Well, it's ironic. Like, have you seen Sound of Freedom yet?
No, I have not seen it yet, but I have seen no, I haven't seen it yet. Legally.
Well, it's ironic with this case. I think one of the really big things that everyone's learning with this Andrew Tate case is that I had no idea how vague and broad the sex trafficking law was.
That I do understand. Yes, continue.
I think I can speak for most people when I say everyone thinks of the Sound of Freedom. Some child getting snatched and thrown into a van and put into a shipping container and sold to somebody.
Right.
That's what everyone thinks of when you think of trafficking. Not an Instagram DM where like, hey, I want to help you make $50,000 a month fingering yourself online. No one thinks of that when they think of trafficking.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom. Absolutely.
Very important distinction.
Essentially what they're saying is we have a show in America called 90 Day Fiancé. That is the lover boy method, is women that go over to the U.S., they're clearly coming for citizenship, but these women kind of get duped and they sponsor these people.
Yep.
This would be the same vein of what they're trying to describe. I've read it myself of what human sex trafficking can be, which is
it's an
a
absolute
woman
reach.
fell for you, fell in love, moved over here overseas, but it's only because you were very convincing.
Yeah.
I lied to a woman. Bullshit.
That is the definition.
What if it's honest?
Given in
What
the
if you
indictment of
really
what-
did love her when you told her to come over, and now it's 12 months later and you don't love her anymore?
Yeah,
Are
she
you,
fucking
a
washes
federal-
her ass
Is that-
funny, and
are you a
it
felon
stinks. And you don't want to deal with this no more. And she refuses to
The way
change.
she eats toast in the morning is insufferable, and now I don't
Right.
love her. I don't love her anymore.
She fucking burns
Are
my
you now a
eggs.
She
trafficker?
was
No,
a catfish.
She was
and
a
I
cat.
loved her anyway.
All right,
for a
right.
while, but I couldn't take it anymore.
Right.
She started eating American
makeup
food and gained
started
80
to get
pounds.
to
I
me.
don't love her anymore.
Yeah.
When she
You
took
know-
the fake nose off and peeled the fake wig back.
I knew I should have trusted those chicks that contort their face on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? And they're really ugly to begin with, and they put up all that makeup.
Fuck,
It was
bro.
her, man. I did it for 90 days. I said, you gotta go.
Get out.
You gotta go. I was hypnotized by the body. Catfish.
Yeah. Islam
They're
fixes
referring to.
everything.
What's that?
Meet their Islam fixes it, you know. Hey, you gotta marry
Nope.
them before we gotta do anything on them. Meet their family, with their parents, see how she's all about.
Nobody uses resumes anymore, bro. Nobody's meeting parents anymore, bro. And I've tried my best when I meet a
That's
chick
the
to
way
meet
to-
her family, and it doesn't
I
work.
have not tried.
Well,
I tell
that's-
them
that's-
straight up. I don't want to meet your family. I don't want to meet anybody.
Hey,
I meet
it's,
under different pretenses, though. I have different intentions. So under my intentions, what I'm looking for in a woman, I'm looking for the shit. I'm looking for the whole package. I'm looking to figure out what the hell legacies we're going to be merging here. What the hell's going on? Why is your sister in fucking jail? What the fuck is going on here? I'm trying to figure it all out.
Hey, just say your shahada. I'll take you, to the masjid, and then we'll go from there.
Done with you.
5 prayers a day. I mean, I'm telling you, it'll
Right.
fix everything.
It'll fix it all.
It'll fix it all.
Correct. So I'll
And you
give a
get
very
4
quick
wives.
rundown on the case. Everything from these old videos, old
In
clips,
theory.
my webcam company, things that happened 10
theory.
years ago have absolutely nothing to do with the criminal
Correct.
case. Absolutely zero. Anything you see from before 2021 has nothing to do with the case. The case against me is that from 2021, my brother and I, when we were already worth hundreds of millions of dollars and already successful and famous, created an organized criminal group. And our intention was to convince women to move to Romania to make TikTok videos so we could steal the TikTok money.
And TikTok, and they mention OnlyFans
Correct.
on the indictment page. And they say that you did this using the lover boy method.
Yeah.
And it almost reads, what's interesting to me and why I was compelled by this case is just that because they tremendously changed it. When they were investigating you, we were told that there was a woman who went to the UN who escaped your grip, and that, she said, I've been held captive.
Yep.
And then after they investigated, they came up with.
See, this is the problem with labels, right? We've got the lover boy method, and we understand that there are individuals who are not as mentally inept as there are others here on Earth. But the thing is, we have the lover boy method, a label. What?
It's a new one.
What method? No, it's old. It's old. There's like chicks
really?
from it when it got first coined, when the term first got coined, label first got coined. It was like this big case, and some chick had been trafficked because I thought he loved me. I thought it was real, and I went overseas, and everything happened, and then all of a sudden I was a sex slave, and I didn't understand. But you made the choice.
They
and
just made a fucking Netflix show about it called The Tinder Swindler.
there you go.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
Women get ripped off and they make a fucking show about it.
Yes.
Men get ripped
Men
off
get
every
ripped
day,
off
and
in
we
the
just point a finger at them and be like, "Ah, you stupid bastard! How'd you fall for that?"
The fucking court system is ripping men off every fucking day. The laws changed in Florida. I watched a special
What is
about
this?
it
I
about
think they
that.
call this the bigotry of low expectations.
The first what's it, the First Wives Club or whatever the fuck they're called, that are down there in Florida, that are pissed off they changed the law that you don't get alimony no more for life. Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. Fuck that law. I'm glad he did that. It's one of the good. That's one of the good things that fucker's done. Anyway, moving on.
He's done a couple good things.
One of
Yes,
them.
DeSantis is on point.
with what it sounded like
He's a
regurgitated
radical.
Andrew Tate videos.
Yep.
The lover boy method, which is in one of your videos where you're talking about women. So it seems like during that time where they held you in the cell, perhaps the initial case that they fed to the media fell apart.
Yeah, I believe what happened, and I have to be very careful what I say, but what I believe happened is in April of last year, Tristan and I had some visitors here from America who were only in the country for 5 days, made some very strange demands financially. When they were rejected, they called the American embassy and said they had been kidnapped. Those 2 women we deem now to be professionals. One of them has accused 7 men of kidnapping in her life. And she's also lawyered up instantly from a left-wing NGO because she's currently being sued by us for false charges. And she seemed to be very well supported and funded. So I don't know if she was sent as an agent. We're not entirely sure. So there's a very interesting beginning to all of this in April. The Romanian authorities arrested us for precisely 2 hours and threw it out and knew it was all garbage from the beginning. The case remained open. Nobody understood why the case remained open. My lawyer made repeated requests to close the case. They wouldn't close the case, and it remained open and absolutely and utterly dormant. When I was canceled, when I was deleted across all social media and canceled and lost my bank accounts, my Uber account, my Stripe account, my Gmail, absolutely everything, literally within the same
Uber
week,
account.
the case was
I know,
picked
the
back
Uber.
up, which is very strange. I was followed. They tried to find evidence of any kind of crime at all. They couldn't find any crimes whatsoever. They then raided my house for a second time with the intent of getting my electronics, which they got. They went through all of my electronics and they could find nothing of actual criminal intent. What they did find is my brother and I and our personal assistant, because at the time, if anyone who knows on the internet or has been around for a while will remember, my face was all over TikTok. You could not get rid of my face on TikTok. Me and my brother were explaining our strategy for how we got so big on TikTok to some friends of ours. They then said that we were forcing them to do the TikToks for our money, for our brand. They made this huge reach and said it's human trafficking because we're forcing women to make TikTok videos.
Yeah, so that's the part that registered to me as strange. It started
Dance
as
for me.
We were told it was kidnapping, which is it's very serious.
Me too.
That somebody fled to the U.S. Embassy. This is the woman that you're talking about that
Yeah.
you say you're alleging has also accused 7 other men.
Alleging, it's literally now on Twitter. You can see the the complaint we filed against her. 7 men she is accused of kidnapping. She's done it with 7 different boyfriends who didn't buy her what she wanted. One of them killed himself.
Okay, wow. So
she's a professional.
Okay, so it's very strange that
Oh,
she comes
shit.
over, she accuses you of kidnapping
Yeah, I
her, but
didn't
then they
know.
decide not to prosecute that, but they fed that to the media that you kidnapped someone, that she fled to the U.S. Embassy.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden we learn that they're investigating you, and the charges then go from kidnapping to, well, actually what he was doing is a lover boy method, which we're saying is human sex trafficking,
Yep.
and that these women didn't know what they were getting into. They thought that he was going to marry them.
Yep.
And actually what he wanted them to do was just to make TikTok and OnlyFans videos.
Yeah, so the lover boy method, traditionally, the way it would traditionally work, the reason it was criminalized and added to the criminal code is that I would be a Romanian man and I would meet a Romanian girl. We would get married. Marriage is part of it. I'm not married to anybody. We'd get married. We'd move to a richer country. You go from a poor country to a rich country, let's say America. You put the girl into sexual work, let's say prostitution, and then I'll keep all the money and I'll control her or coerce her by pretending to love her. That's what they're saying. That's how it traditionally works. They've accused me of using the lover boy method because basically I was a nice person. I was nice. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So most people don't understand about the law. It's so ridiculously subjective. If they want to weaponize it and use it to attack you, that's exactly what they'll do. They can accuse any man of using the lover boy method if you send nice messages on a text message.
All right, guys, here we go. Scenario. I start a company with AI. I make $1 million, $2 million. I decide to blow $250,000 on a nice couple months trip. I meet a woman and I do the same exact thing. So I'm trafficking now because I'm flexing.
Yes.
I'm flexing my status in the world. I'm flexing my status
If
overseas.
she doesn't like you. So you travel off to the Philippines, meet a great woman, you guys get married, come back to the United States.
No, that's weird shit. When I pimp her out, no, none of that. But just doing what this second scenario, we're like, hey, look, we can kick it. You can make some money. I can make some money, and she makes the honest to God choice to kick it with me and hang out and make some money. I've trafficked her.
BS.
Yeah, apparently.
It's BS.
It's BS.
It's trying to follow.
I flex and I toss her a bunch of money, and I'm like, yo, you can make more money, girl. Come on, let's go shake this ass. Let's do this.
Yes.
That's
Just
trafficking.
defamation of character on him,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then trying to create this scenario as if he's involved in it, all because the way that he may speak to her might be very convincing, and just that he's trying to persuade her and all this other stuff. Loverboy method.
So
It seems like everything adds up with what they want the narrative to be about Tate.
The position and status and power equals manipulation.
Well, it all depends who you are too, though. So if you're somebody who, probably doesn't have as much clout as he does.
The
Sure,
nuance
you'll
of
never
this
get a
is
child.
baffling to me because it's not created children. This isn't created children. This isn't even created 20 and 30-year-old women. This is choice. So the nuance is just, it's baffling to me. I'm not going to discount it, but I'm just challenging it. So.
I mean, like, either sex work is legal or it's not.
Right.
And
again, that, right.
And it's one thing if we're talking about some pimp who's on the street with some women
powdered up,
and
smacking them around.
He's having them go into an alley and suck cock every 10 minutes for $5 each. And he smacks them when they don't want to do it. It's a completely different conversation to a bunch of women joining a cam girl business.
Yeah.
Well,
and getting their fifis and may not feel like working today.
Because certain sex work, it's okay. Certain sex work is empowering.
Yeah. Well, if it's pornographic, if it's like officially porn, then it's okay. It's not prostitution anymore. It's the exact same thing, but somehow it's not considered that legally anymore. And so, like, is the crux of this that he's just like not playing by the rules?
Yeah.
Like
that he.
I mean, if this was if instead of the Loverboy method, if he just started a production company that made pornography and he hired a bunch of porn stars from around, like amateur porn stars, would that be the exact same scenario, just with different,
under different pretense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
If you're like, hey, baby, how are you?
So did you promise to marry these women?
Be right back.
No, I didn't promise to marry anybody. What I had was girls, the two girls who were in the criminal file, asked me how to be famous on TikTok. I told them how to be famous on TikTok, and I spoke to them nicely the entire time. These two women have come out and made videos repeatedly saying, we're not victims of anything. I don't know if you've seen them.
No. Okay, so just to back this up.
The victims
in the indictment.
Correct.
Have made videos saying we're not victims.
Correct.
I did not know that.
It's all over Twitter. In fact, on I think it's my pinned tweet, you can see the criminal case against Andrew Tate. The two victims who the DCAR are accusing me of using the Loverboy method on have made videos saying, he just told us how to do social media. We're not victims.
I've never seen any of them being aggressive or rude. They've always respected people.
Ai fost amenințată?
Nu. N-am fost niciodată. Dacă eram amenințată, automat nu mai eram idiotă să stau în casa asta. Suntem prieteni buni de 2 ani de zile, cam așa. Poți să mă treci pe mine ca și victimă, dacă eu n-am spus că sunt o victimă.
They gave this statement to the police. The police ignored it and said they're brainwashed. So they ignore it. So now we have a criminal case where we have girls who are saying they're not victims of anything.
Is crazy, man.
Me telling girls how to make money on TikTok, or not even how to make money, because no one makes money on TikTok, telling them how to get famous on TikTok, and them saying that I forced them for money, which doesn't exist. There's no money in the criminal file. There's no transactions. There's no financials, nothing. The girls themselves have given statements in my defense. They're being thrown away so they can continue with this case saying that I've brainwashed the women. So now we have, imagine in court, my brother and I, and the two victims all on the same side saying, nobody's done anything wrong. We're all friends. We were talking about TikTok accounts. And then you have the state with no witnesses on its own saying, you're victims and you're bad and you're going to jail.
So it seems like what they're doing then is this is where the content from 10 years ago is coming into play, where they're saying, well, look,
this is another example.
Yeah, they're conflating this now. So,
of removing the autonomy from women.
Yeah.
Because I've heard other people like Destiny say this before, where he was like, it's often the case that women that are pimped will defend their pimp because they've been like brainwashed. It's like, Jesus. To some degree, that might be true. In some cases, that might be true.
Right.
But to assume that that's true is absurd.
Absolutely. Absolutely. To assume that as a blanket statement that that's true is as absurd as hell.
Brainwashing is real and it exists in the world, but it's not common.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Stockholm syndrome.
And there's a Stockholm syndrome. Yes, there's the trauma bond to in whatever case it is.
Even though these charges are from, and I read the indictment again, 2021, look at what he said 10 years ago, which somehow confirms what we're saying. We don't have to listen to these women. On August 22nd, BRICS nations, that's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are expected to announce
fast forwarding on this.
Definitely, please.
Everyone.
Don't you need gold?
shout out.
People need gold.
Buying
What
lots
is
of
this?
gold.
Old Tate footage. All right, shout out Candace. Blah blah blah. If you like her, all that stuff, hit her up. Otherwise, subscribe to the gentleman on the panel. Today we are with Bronzebird at Bronzebird, Alpha Revert at Alpha Revert, and Mountain Chad. Folks in the chat, Wacky.
At Mount Chad.
Wacky, I see you out there. Thanks for joining,
That's right.
brother. We are running this for probably about another 10 minutes or so with commentary, and then we are going to do a part 3. So to everyone in the chat, look out for parts 1 and 3 forthcoming. We'll set a date for that. All right, let's continue.
It's been circulating on the internet of you talking about the lover boy method. So we'll take a look at that right now.
Sure. You cannot get a girl to work for you having fun. So the recruitment process is the same as the PhD course. You message them on Instagram. The PhD course is my recruitment system. I don't mention webcam until after I've had sex with the girl. If you're on dates and you're trying to mention it and shit, it just doesn't work.
Yo.
I'd never do that.
That's pretty dark.
Yo.
I don't lie. But then again,
you continue as normal, no mention of
Again,
webcam.
I never thought he was a good man. I'm not surprised by any of this.
he never
Anybody
mentioned.
who
never
is
said it
I'm
was
not
a good man.
surprised either, but oof.
Well, look at him. Look how young. Look how young he looks. And it's like, man, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, he's pulling the pretty boy look. He's doing the pretty boy game.
Well, look how unrefined he looks compared to today.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Complete, like, yeah. And pickupartisttools.com.
You know what? This is man, everybody in the world's gonna hate me for this one, but I'm putting it out there. That's a Sneeko look right there.
Yeah, right.
Look,
That's a Sneeko look, bro. Well,
He looks like, he looks like a yeah.
well, my bad. Okay, on with the video.
Girl. After you f the girl, you do the PhD test. If she passes the PhD test and she wants to be with you, then you start mentioning things like, yeah, but you know, you're always busy, you're always at work, you can come work for me.
Okay, so first question, when was this video taken?
Yeah, so this video is from 10 years ago, and this is me explaining how having a webcam company, it's actually a larger video as a whole. I'm explaining how having a webcam company can affect your relationships and how it affects your dating life. It also explains the fact that one of the girls I was dating at the time was working on webcam at the time. And it's explaining my general, overall, explains my life and how things are affected owning a pornography company, because obviously a lot of women will be put off by that. It doesn't explain, it doesn't say, I'd be very careful how I answer this question because I'm currently under an investigation, right? So I'd be very careful how I answer it. People are trying to chop it up and say that it says I am using the lover boy method to somehow convince women to do things they didn't want to do. This is obviously not the case, and none of this is in the case file for a reason because it doesn't exist and none of these women are upset. But this is simply me explaining, it's actually a dating course I made a long time ago, and I'm a little bit embarrassed about it, to be honest with you, because it was 10 years ago and I was talking about women and dating and things in a way that I wouldn't talk about them anymore.
Right. So yeah, you look very young in the video.
I'm super young and I'm talking about, hey, when you sleep with this girl or you meet that girl or you meet this girl on Instagram and I have a webcam company, I don't tell them I have a webcam company. And I just think all that's kind of crass and it's below me.
Yeah.
And I don't really like talking about it. And it's amazing how things change as you mature and you get older. But once again, I was a much younger man. I think if you were...
So is that a don't hate the player, hate the game moment?
I mean, pretty much. I mean,
Yeah, sounds like it.
I mean, is that what it is, really? Is that what it boils down to? Because, I mean, if I go back and I look at my library, if you look at Corto Fuegos, my first, what would be red pill aligned video podcast, it's all audio. I'm in my rage mode. I'm breaking down every experience that I've had that was bad. So I'm not there anymore mentally. So if I look at this and I think, okay, so over the past 7, 8, 9 months, whatever, since I made that, where I'm at now, or I went, you know, where my mind went shortly thereafter, after I was like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm done with talking about the dating shit. Let me get out of this.
right.
Like, you know, so once you get out of a certain space, and if you have truly, again, we're going back to this, you know, the message that you're passing as an individual and what you're putting out into the universe. If you as an individual have truly changed and the message that is no longer grab them by the pussy, but it's now it's something different, and your motivations are completely on a different level, you've changed. There's an evolution there to your character, to who you are, to your emotions, to how you approach situations. So is it fair? You can't really pass.
It's not a fair judgment, right? Because the thing about it is like this. Based on what Andrew Tate says back then, 10 years ago, obviously different headspace, and then just admitting like, oh, the girl I was dealing with was a cam model, right? So obviously his mindset is like, nah, men do this, do that, blah, 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 blah.
Get that.
I mean, I can understand why it still's aligned to how he would be, but that's not the same message he was preaching now. So how can we hold him in contempt for something that was a completely different message than what he's discussing today? You know what I'm saying? So it's not something like, my thing about it is what it is. Like, hold me to something that I said 10, 11 years ago. I'm probably going to be looking at you like you were Tardo. Like, wait a minute, what?
Who of the four of us?
I probably don't remember that.
Who of the four of us has never talked a woman out of her panties?
Never.
I definitely
I can confidently say
no
words have never gotten me anywhere.
Actually,
really? No, they have. They absolutely have. That's all part, and it's not a game thing. It's all part of who you are, like how you get the approach.
20 years ago, I was a married woman. I just felt like
the ease of the interaction is what I'm saying. Who has not had an easy interaction?
Oh yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Like, I have a lot of easy interactions, but they're completely nonverbal. And in my experience, like, part of what I learned in my mid-20s was shutting the fuck up. I talked my way out of pussy infinite times.
Yeah. Okay.
The guys who have a way with words.
Yeah.
Who can meet a woman who's not interested in him and then talk to her for 30 minutes and then she's interested. I have no idea how that works.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've done it a few times. But like I said, and look, it's like I'm a different person now that I was like just 12 months ago. I mean, we've known each other a year. Like all three of us. I don't know Bronsford, but I mean, Mount Chad, E.T. Like we've grown in this last year alone.
Yeah.
So differently.
Tremendously.
So different, on it. So imagine 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, your book itself. You guys check out Mount Chad's book. That's
right.
That was from how long ago was how long ago was that?
When you return? Yeah.
But
2 years ago, it took me 3 years to write it, and those stories span 15 years.
Exactly.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn it.
It's the internet is cancer. Like, it's just made people just so insane that it's like, oh, this person said this 10 years ago or 5 years ago, and it's like bringing that stuff up
and asking that. And so, Twin, in asking that, right, the game that we put out when we meet a woman, the charisma, however you want to look at it, however anybody in the man space wants to look at it, what you put out in the universe, or the energy you put out toward a chick, and you talking her out of her panties essentially, and there's no regrets there on either party.
Win-win.
What's the difference? What's
I don't see none.
difference?
It's
what's the difference in picking up a shorty for a weekend ride? What's the difference?
The thing about it is because
your inner headspace, and now your inner panties.
Because the thing about it is, why they try to make it seem like, what I can think of is just like they try to make it seem like the scenario is pretty much predatory. Oh, you talking to chick out her panties and this, that, and
no.
Blah, blah,
he just
blah.
exposed the game is all it was.
And it's like, that's all he was doing. That's all it was.
He exposed the game, and it made them mad that they were exposed.
Well,
but you see how that was, though, right?
I mean, that's the only thing I'm picking up from this.
Yeah. Well,
like, shut up, Andrew.
Before social media.
Shut the fuck up, dude.
Before social media, if somebody were to bring stuff up that happened a few months ago or a year ago on it, people would look at them like they're insane.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking
People
about?
gonna be
Dude?
like,
That was
12
last year.
12 veil
Really?
stopped on my. She's the only one that commented on Court to Fake. I was like, you a passport, bro? Like, I don't know. I know she was like, ugh.
But it used to be nobody did that. Like, if you tried that back in me and ET's days on it, everybody look at you like you're insane. Like, you're like, what? Well, how long ago was that? I don't remember that. 8 months ago?
Right.
What are you talking about? Are you still on that?
Right.
Like, are you still on that?
Oh, you're one of them.
Yeah,
You
that's
can't.
a good point.
You can't judge based on
Dude.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody would be like, "Are you still on that, man? Get over it, man." That was like 3 months ago. Like, nobody. Everybody looked at you like you'd be crazy.
All right, let's go,
And
fellas.
it's a big red flag. A person who doesn't change over time is a big red flag.
That. Yes. And I hit on it earlier.
If you're
Exactly.
living, if it's a way to measure how dynamic your life is. You should be changing pretty radically every 2 to 4 years.
Yep.
Like, you should be going through enough during that period where you look back on yourself 2 years ago, 2 to 4 years ago, and you're like, wow, I was a very different person 2 to 4 years ago.
Yep. Absolutely. And good point bringing up, the evolution piece of this, Alex. Alpha.
To take any 24-year-old and look at the stuff he puts on the internet, some of it's going to be stupid. And I think if you look at anybody who made things 10 years ago, some of it's going to be stupid. It's absolutely not criminal in any regard. There's nothing criminal about it. It has no bearing or any interest in the current case. But yeah, I was talking about how I don't mention I have a webcam business. The basic premise of the video was me explaining that I don't mention I have a webcam business ever, and that I'm Mr. Rich and I have this nice car and I go on dates with girls. And sometimes when I say I have a webcam business, some of them want money and they want to work for me. That's the basic premise of it.
Right. I'm glad to hear that you're not proud of the video. And I think that that's one of those things where I say that people don't allow you to grow up from things that you've done or said in the past. And this is obviously when you were operating a webcam business. You're talking about.
And that's the whole thing about the human experience. We're supposed to grow, right? And we're supposed to make mistakes and we're supposed to learn from them and we're supposed to evolve as people. And I'm certainly not proud of the video. When I say I'm not sorry for what I've done, I don't mean it in I would do the same things again. I don't mean it that way. I mean that at the time I was a lot less knowledgeable and I was younger and I made some mistakes. And just like I'm sure Jay-Z would never sell crack again.
Right.
Exactly the same reason I would never make a stupid video saying something so stupid again. I also could have never predicted the fact that I was going to become one of the most famous people on the planet.
Right.
I didn't see that coming. And if I did, I would have been a lot more careful with what I said and how I said it. And I do think that it's part of every person's journey to make some mistakes and learn from them and grow from them. And I kind of find it interesting that if I was a reformed drug addict, there'd be no problem. If I was a reformed murderer, there'd be no problem. If I was a mafia boss and I'd sit here and I'd killed 3 people and we were doing an interview and I was like, yeah, I used to kill people. I've done my time. I'm out of jail now. I get less flack than if I made a video talking about dating when I used to have a business that did webcam than I currently get,
All right, fellas. We're going to drop it right there. And with that thought, I agree. I think if he was anything that he had named there or labeled there, he would be granted a lot more grace than he is for offending the matriarchy. That's my 2 cents on it.
I agree with him, actually.
Yeah.
There's a lot of career criminals making a name for themselves on social media, talking about the things that they used to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And some of them are straight up murderers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, I fell into the ex-con sector, we'll call it. I don't know what the hell what label they got, but I fell in the ex-con sector and my algorithm was feeding me all the, I'm so-and-so, I'm fresh out. This is what goes on in jail. I'm so-and-so, I'm fresh out. This is how.
I started getting those in mine as well.
Yep.
Yeah, the big black dude, I forgot his name.
There's him and there's a Latino cat that does it too.
Yeah, it's a Latino cat. And
Yep.
Well, it's got to be black and Latinos. God, I'm telling you.
I know, damn it.
Brownies.
Racist.
That, right? It was 2 of them. It's ironic. It was 2 of them. And it's like, one of them was just like, well, men. And then he started kind of.
Who's the one that rides around in the car? Is that the white guy? There's one that's always in a car.
I forgot. Because I'm the only one I'm thinking about is the dark skinned black dude.
He's sitting at the park.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. He's sitting like at a bench or something. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And he just tells a story and he's just like, yeah, fellas, don't do this, don't do that. And then it's like he kind of dwelled into that quote unquote red pill talk. And it was just like, okay, I see you, bro. You know what I mean? So it's always a different stories. And I mean, even really quickly, even before YouTube, like looking at the documentary of the inspiration for Dog Day Afternoon, which is a story about the dude that actually robbed the bank in Brooklyn. And the story is wild, but you know, just hearing a documentary, oh, my intentions and what am I gonna do now? And I'm just trying to take care of my loved one. And you know what I mean? Like different stories, different outcomes. It's not the same as it used to be.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right, fellas. Any closing words? We can have
That's all I got.
We can do like 10 of
been
these.
Good, yeah. It's been a good one.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah, really good.
Definitely. Sorry for the technical issues in the beginning there, to the chat and to the watching crowd. Those of you who are in the clouds or in the bushes watching, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment, even if it's negative. It's all great. It's all dialogue. That's how we learn. Subscribe to my special guests at Bronzebird, at Alpha Revert, and at Mountain Chad. You can catch them on the screen in the pop-out banner. Everyone, thank you very, very much for joining us this evening. We're going to do a part 3.
Go ahead and check out my book on Amazon, Seeking Squalor, Toilet Umbrellas and Champagne Chandeliers.
Yes.
Check that.
There's also the audiobook available, so pick that up.
That's right.
On Amazon.
If you're in, well, Kindle.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. We will be doing a part 3. Gentlemen, what does part 3 look like? When do we want to knock this out? It looks like we got another hour.
Well, I got my kids. I'm gonna be spending some time with my 2 girls.
Excellent.
For the past 4 days. So if you do a little later on, when I put them to bed, then yeah, we could do something like a little late night for the 3rd part.
All right.
Maybe over the weekend.
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Over the weekend sounds cool.
Maybe a Sunday.
Yeah, Saturday or Sunday.
Maybe.
Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah,
Cool. Yeah.
Sunday's probably best. Yeah.
Yeah, Sunday. There we go. We'll do it like a Sunday, maybe a late night Sunday.
Late night Sunday works for me. Let's aim for about 9 o'clock. How's that sound?
Yeah, I think
Sweet.
it'll be good.
Perfect. To the crowd, look for the invite. It may be a moving target, but otherwise, thank you very much for joining me tonight. Everyone, big up yourselves, love yourselves, be safe. Gonna play a little
Assalamu
music
alaikum.
for you out here.
Take care. Have a good night.
Peace
Bye-bye.
out.
Once.
Talking about flipping birds, but don't know how many grams in it. You a shooter, but you never ever kill nothing. These silly motherfuckers always gotta stay frontin'. If I get it, then I talk it and I live it. And jealous rappers always looking like women. Never worried about a hater, man. I love you niggas. I ain't beefing with nobody, rather come up with you. I'm the gas in the middle of the swisher. On your ass for that cash, I'ma get you. Been blessed, no stress, man. I'm good, nigga. Don't test, I'm a mess. I really pull triggers, but only if I have to. I don't wanna be the bad dude. Why you steady acting like you really gangsta? Bosses making moves, just learn the game, bro. Everybody gangsta nowadays. Just wanna be the bad guy. Wanna be the bad guy. The real goons come your way. So they come your way. You wanna be the good guy. Wanna be the good guy. Everybody gangsta nowadays. Just wanna be the bad guy. Wanna be the bad guy. The real goons come your way. So they come your way. You wanna be the good guy. Wanna be the good guy.
I ain't lucky, real shit don't interrupt me. These niggas ain't shooters, they feel safe for playing rugby. But that ain't the point, this one calls for a joint. This life is a gamble, two-sided, good or bad, flip the coin. Ain't you glad that the odds on your side, don't be mad. That negative shit whack, let me bring it back. That negative shit whack, hit them hard like crack. If crazy, take a vacate, just know I'm coming back. Sharper than attack, what you think of that? Check a GMB step, we all want the cheese, but ain't none of us a rat. Would you believe me if I told you I'm a crack baby? That shit happen every day, not just back in the 80s. Thinking about sunny days that done turn shady. God been looking out, cause to this day I got no babies. And probably never will, cause nowadays they don't want ladies. No competition, I'm biting down like I got rabies. Now I'm a savage, licensed to carry, now try to make me think you can touch me. Don't try to rush me, I get the bussin'. You watch my back, I watch yours, that's who I got my trust in. And if somebody do dirt, they crib, we bout to bust in.
Everybody gangsta nowadays. Just wanna be the bad guy. Wanna be the bad guy. The real goons come your way. So they come your way. You wanna be the good guy. Wanna be the good guy. Everybody gangsta nowadays. Just wanna be the bad guy. Wanna be the bad guy. The real goons come your way. So they come your way. You wanna be the good guy. Wanna be the good guy.
Botanga